Would like to call back to order the February 21st, 2013 Sacramento City Unified School District Board of Education meeting. We have the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, led by the Abraham Lincoln After School Program.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
And we have Board Member Pritchett.
If you see a student from Abraham Lincoln Elementary After School Program dancing, skipping, hopping, or jogging, don't be alarmed. They're not misbehaving, they're getting their physical fitness on. Students are no longer just walking, but moving in the most creative way to make fun at a vigorous fitness activity. Sorry. The After School Start program at Abraham Lincoln Elementary is proud to announce that they are now designated as one of the 17 Healthy Behaviors Initiative learning centers in the state of California that seeks to improve children's health through after-school programs. The Healthy Behaviors Initiative addresses the serious health problems facing students in low-income communities throughout California and at risk of obesity. The After School Start program manager, Anne, sorry if I say this wrong, Sachow, is working on collaboration with Abraham Lincoln Student Council and parents to plan in innovative ways to promote healthy behaviors and healthy decision-making in school. They are demonstrating the importance of including youth and parent voice in the dialogue of improving the health of students and families. They offer resources to parents such as community connections and, of course, for meals on a budget to encourage healthy decisions at home. Parents are proactively volunteering and helping with activities or special events in the after-school program. They help educate students about healthy eating and the importance of physical activities. Students are learning to track and assess their eating habits. The students are not just gaining knowledge, but also developing lifelong healthy eating and physical activity habits. In recognition of transforming and encouraging healthy behaviors, we are proud to recognize the Abraham Lincoln Elementary School After School Program as a Sac City Unified School District Stellar Program.
Want to say anything? Does anyone want to say anything?
Thank you.
Item 5.0, announcement of action taken in closed session.
Yes, Mr. President. Three resolutions were adopted in closed session. Resolution 2013-B, a resolution of non-reemployment of temporary certificate employees by 6 affirmative votes, Board Member Arroyo absent. The second resolution is resolution number 2013-C, resolution of non-reelection of probationary certificated employees. By 5 affirmative votes, 1 nay vote by Board Member Rodriguez, and Board Member Arroyo was absent. The third resolution was resolution number 2013-D, resolution of release of certificated administrators. By 5 affirmative votes, Board Member Rodriguez voting no, and Board Member Arroyo absent. That concludes my report out of closed session, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Item 6.0, agenda adoption. Do I have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion to adopt the agenda by Vice President Wu, a second by Vice President Kennedy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We have an agenda. Item 7.0, public comment. Mr. Ross, Mr. Ross, before we get to that, as I forgot, this meeting of the Sacramento City School Board is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the government affairs channel on the Comcast and SureWest cable systems. Today's meeting will be replayed Sunday, February 24th at 9 a.m. and Monday, February 25th at noon on Channel 14 and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. A video copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located in the back of the community room and give it to the Chief Communications Officer, Mr. Gabe Ross. Prior to the conclusion of the item's presentation, please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comment to items not listed on the agenda. If you are found to be commenting on an item that is on the agenda, you will be asked to defer your comments until your item comes up on the agenda. Please also turn off all cell phones or place them on silent or vibrate. Mr. Ross.
We have 4 comments on 7.0 from Darlene Anderson, Grace Trujillo, Mac Worthy, and Kevin Carter.
Good evening, Darlene Anderson. I come to talk to you about a really critical thing. It's not even a thing. It's talking about education for special needs kids. When this district chose to close a number of enclosed classrooms at the beginning of the year, they did a push-in model for a lot of those kids who were in handicapped classrooms. They just closed them. They didn't have an IEP first. They didn't make goals. They didn't do anything. They just closed them. And so when the kids start failing one by one, I guess they had IEPs. But this push-in model has no description. It is still special ed. This district writes a SELPA. It is its own service provider. It provides services for children with special needs, and they have the right to have the same common goals and common standards as children without disabilities. This district has a responsibility to provide those services. Yet and still, when you have a push-in model and you allow the principal to say an F is an F, well, I don't think that's special need. I don't think that's special education. I don't think it has anything to do with education, because if this district is moving towards Common Core and the Common Core standards, that means those children have the right to have those same goals measured and make progress. It has nothing to do with the letter grade. Those children have the right to make progress, and the district is responsible to do so in any manner that the child needs to have it happen. This district is ripe for suit for failing so many children and putting them out of school, actually, because when kids are not successful, they're moved from their home school probably to that alternative program that you got going on there, because their parents don't understand their rights. But this district does have a responsibility. And as clumsy as decision-making has been in the last 4 years, I assume that the lawsuits will start flowing soon. Thank you.
Hello, this is Grace Trujillo. Jonathan, members of the board. I come today as a concerned parent and also a community member. I always look ahead. And what I'm talking about is how are we going to, the budget crisis that we have for next year, I would like to know how we're going to be able to deal with that $11.5 million in deficit. And at the same time, how could we get parents involved now so we could work on the threshold to increase it? So that way we're not here with the same problems right now. We have a lot of parents here. We need to get them involved. How could we have not to have this particular problem as we're having now? I'm thinking for the future also to give us the right to work together. So I'm asking you now for next year's budget, let's work together as a team, because as a team we could accomplish so much more. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
Good afternoon, Superintendent, board members, Mac L. Worthy. People after this is Black History Month, and I'm a Negro. All the month, we ain't seen one thing come out of this school district about Black history. We ain't seen nothing come through the city chambers with me to speak to Black history. People, we got to understand, Black folks, we are an endangered species in the city. Here is a time to connect your internet with the Hispanic. This is going to be your population next 10 years. Hispanic Canadians. Where will we have the communication with them? Nowhere. Where is our NAACP in Urban Lake tonight? Nowhere. Where is our Black mayor tonight? Nowhere. Where is our previous Black people work for the school district? They got that check. They should be coming here, combining their knowledge with the Hispanic and Asian with what's going on here. We have the most critical thing ever happened in the school district since I've been here for alleviated segregated school. We have seen the whole Land Park community walk out because they stacked those cards. We've seen some critical things going on here, people, that we better wake up. And I would say a grand jury investigation, hold it where it's at, and have a grand jury investigation on what happened with the money. This school district, as Black people, was here for years since 1963. If you're going to accuse Raymond, get Raymond to the table in the community. If you're going to accuse the board, go out there. That's your responsibility. Raymond wasn't out there. It was your responsibility. Go to the Black neighborhood. Encourage them to unite their power with the Hispanic, politically wise, and we'll see another change in the city.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Raymond. My name is Kevin Carter. I am a founder. I am a spiritual and social justice activist. But I'm here tonight for this moment, and for the moment of Black history, which Black history is American history. And for the document that you have in your hands holds the history of our freedom and democracy. And where this takes place 30 years ago here in the city of Sacramento, I found a gold coin, January 13th, 1983. And the reflection of this coin, the double eagle, which is the 1909 double eagle St. Gaudens, holds the reflection of the Emancipation Proclamation, holds the reflection of the birthright of our civil rights movement of 1909, holds the reflection of Social Security in the GI Bill of 1945, holds the reflection of 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education, holds the reflection of 1963 of a multiracial democracy. I'm here tonight to bring acknowledgement to you so that you'll know that this is something that happened 30 years ago next to the Department of Education during that time, which this coin was found on the corner of 8th and L, and you were on the corner of Capitol and 8th. And the reason why I'm here tonight, because over the years, I've watched so many things take place in this time socially and economically. And we have something that's out of place right now. And it comes to education. Education must holds the purpose of its interest and the values of its worth. And you today must be the ones that stand true on these meanings. Today we live in the fierce urgency of now. In this year that holds today the foundation and birthright of this nation's purpose, promise, and meaning. And I will end with this poem, if you will allow me, and take no more time. I found a coin of gold. It had the year 1909, and it was full of hope. This coin I found, and its mystery. This lady stood for our history and the birthright of our democracy. This coin I found, I will always claim. It is for the people to see of its natural remains. See, it was a gold coin of liberty that holds a reflection and justice of all. May it remain and teach us all, and may the Spirit of God join us all so we as a people never fall. And in saying that, instead of us looking to Wall Street, let's look at Main Street, because that's what this coin represents for our city, in our state, and our more perfect union. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Item 8.0, consent agenda. Do I have a motion? I want to move the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Vice President Wu, a second by Board Member Rodriguez. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda has been approved. Item 9.0, Board Workshop, Strategic Plans, and Other Initiatives. Item 9.1, Resolution Number 2732, authorizing the issuance and sale of the 2012-2013 Tax and Revenue Anticipation Notes. Mr. Richard Odegaard, this will be a 10-minute presentation and a 10-minute discussion. It's a conference action.
Good evening, President Cuneo, members of the board, and Superintendent Raymond. Tonight, we're bringing to you for information a briefing on the need to issue tax and revenue anticipation notes again this year. Given our projection for our cash position at the end of June, we will need to go out and sell the tax and revenue bonds. I've asked Mr. Jeff Small from the Capital Public Finance Group, who is our financial advisor on issuing the trans, to come in and provide a informational briefing this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Raymond. Jeff Small of Capital Public Finance Group. I'm going to speak briefly tonight about an information item on cash flow. And as you're very familiar with, the district has used cash flow methods in the past. Trans is one such method. It's a method of financing general fund shortfalls during the course of the year. As you know, your general fund is funded mostly through a combination of state apportionments and property taxes. Approximately 75% of the budget, general fund budget, is funded through state apportionments. We also know that the state has delayed many of those state apportionments in recent years. And so trans is a method for advancing either property taxes, which come to the district twice a year in April, in January and April, and also state apportionments. So this isn't a budget item. The district has a fund balance in the budget, but during the course of the year, it does incur these deficits. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, and we're going to talk about the various ways that the district uses to address those cash flow shortfalls. Trans is one alternative. We're going to discuss that in more detail because that's the information item in front of the board. The other two methods is dry period financing through Sacramento County. The district does that on a regular basis. However, dry period financing through the county treasury is not available after April. The district can also use its internal funds that it has, cafeteria fund, capital project fund, etc., to offset some of the cash flow needs. However, it does not have enough internal cash to fund general fund operations. Therefore, the district uses trans, or tax and revenue anticipation notes. The reason why trans are important at this time of the year is because the district cannot end the fiscal year on June 30 with a negative cash position. So although it does rely on dry period financing from the county, it must issue a tran at this time of year. We're currently estimating a general fund cash flow shortfall of approximately $71 million, and that occurs in May, and that's primarily due to the deferral of the state apportionments. Now, with Proposition 30, that delay is somewhat mitigated, but it is not completely eliminated. So for your consideration, we've provided a graph just to show you what the cash flow looks like. And as you can see, the district really doesn't have working capital cash during the year. And I would like to point out that in the month of January, you see that the cash flow deficit is at its smallest point, and that's because the district does get a large influx of property taxes. But the state begins deferring the state apportionments in February. At first, the state defers just a smaller percentage of those state apportionments, but then those percentages grow to 100% in May and 100% in June. So if you look at the chart, you can see that at its deepest level, the projected deficit is approximately $71 million. So we're anticipating a trans size of between $60 and $65 million. That's less than the projected deficit of $71 million. And the reason why we're able to do that is because the district can reduce that trans size from cash that it does have on hand. It's very important that the district does maintain some working capital, as any business would. You can't simply run in the negative the whole year without some working capital. So we've talked a little bit about how we size the TRAN. The district will have to repay the TRAN, and in order to repay the TRAN, we try to pick a day that the district has sufficient funds not only to repay the TRAN, which is repaid from the state deferrals, but also to have a little bit of cushion. So when we go to the markets and get a credit rating and sell the TRAN, we can demonstrate not only TRAN repayment, but also a small cushion that gives the market more confidence in the ability to repay the TRAN. After July 1, the district enters into a new fiscal year. And because the deferrals that the district will receive in July and also some in August, a strategy will need to be put in place as the district has done in prior years to address those early year shortfalls. So we are working with staff to figure out what is the best method of doing that. Perhaps it's dry period financing through the county treasury, which is what's currently happening now. So before you have a set of legal documents, a resolution, which we are going to bring back to you for consideration on March 7th. It allows for two options relative to the method of selling the TRANs. The first is a competitive TRAN. We believe that a competitive sale of a TRAN brings the lowest borrowing cost. That's akin to a public auction. However, in order to have a very effective competitive sale, the district will need to achieve the highest credit rating of an SP1+. It will be able to show that it can comfortably repay the TRAN. At maturity, we have to believe that the district would get at least 3 bids. If those conditions cannot be met, one of the things we're asking for is authority to have a negotiated sale. And that basically means negotiate with an investment banking firm to purchase the TRAN. What we negotiate are two things. One, their underwriting discount, which is compensation that they're paid, and the other is the interest rate on the note. So these are the estimated costs that we would anticipate. As you can see, the underwriting costs we've put down, we don't know what it will be. That's yet to be determined either through the public auction process and the competitive sale or through direct negotiation. You see that's $80,000. The district would anticipate some borrowing cost. It's about 0.5%. That's relatively similar to what's currently being paid through the county pool. Our job as the financial advisor to the district is try to make those costs as small as possible. We know that every dollar we're able to reduce the borrowing with, it's more money that's available for the general fund. Unfortunately, we really don't have any other tools to help mitigate the deferrals that the district receives from the state. The other items on this list are items that are paid to attorneys, financial advisory fee, which does include our fee, as well as other expenses that are necessary in order to take a $65+ million note to the financial markets. In all, the maximum that we think that the TRAN would cost is about $389,000. Again, I don't think the district has a choice because it does have this end-of-the-year deficit, and it's largely not of your making. It's just simply a matter of the way the district is funded, with about 75% of the revenue limit being funded through the state apportionment. We have a brief schedule where we will be in discussions with the County Office of Education. As a qualified district, you will need approval from the County Office of Education. We will return to you on March 7th with a similar set of documents for you to consider. We'd like to provide this information in advance so you have an opportunity to ask questions and think about it. If you do approve the resolution, we would sell the TRAN on March 21. Cash would be available on April 9th. Right now, you are currently dry period financing through the county. As I said earlier, towards the end of April, that is not going to be possible. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I believe we have one public comment.
Public comment on this item from Darlene Anderson.
Hi, good evening. Darlene Anderson. I recall Patty Hagemeyer going through a similar, proposal with the district. And quite frankly, it was not something that was widely used. But I guess I have a problem with the amount of money that's being spent in this district. Why we need so much money. Why do we need to borrow so much money? It has to do with attempting to do things that we've never done before that are not documented, that they're successful. When you're trying new things, they cost lots of money, but then they impact everyone. And now we're at a gesture where two things come together. And we're finding out that we are in need of lots of money. What should have happened is the county should have found this district that it wasn't going to work, that the state should have came in and sanctioned us and taken it over. Now we're going to sell more trans to get more money out of the air simply because it's a possibility. We've done it before. But we're still spending money. And you can't document that anything that has been done in the last 4 years has changed the direction of this district or the children in it. The children are still scoring below the 20th percentile in many schools. And then you want to use the children as chopping blocks once again. Why should this district have to take additional loans after you already found yourself qualified last year? I came to talk about it. Now we're not qualified. We might not be qualified. We have to beg the county to approve trans. Most of these people don't even know what you're talking about. But I do. I know that you're asking to borrow more money so that you can make to the end of the year. But you spent a lot of money. And the problem is that when you approve, it's okay for the superintendent to try new things. These things cost money, and now they're affecting us. Thank you.
Vice President Kennedy.
Yeah, just a couple of brief questions. You said you're expecting three bids on this. What's the likelihood of that?
Well, I think we need to
problems with that.
I think we need to determine first what the credit rating will be, and if we do get the SP1 Plus credit rating, then I think there is a very high likelihood of obtaining 3 bids. We had a very similar sale last year for the San Juan Unified School District and did receive more than 3 bids. I would expect a comparable result here.
I realize this is your first time that you're doing this with us.
Yes.
Are you aware of what the costs are? Maybe Richard, although it's your first year, the cost, the $389,094, how that compares to what we've spent in the past to do this?
Yes, the cost of issuance in the past were actually higher than that. That's for the professional fees. The interest rate costs, I think.
More interested in the professional fees.
Pardon?
The professional fees. I mean, the interest rate costs, they are what they are. And
our professional fee is I think is about half the price that the district was paying last year for my fee in particular.
Okay.
The fees the professional fees are lower. But I also want to say that I think that the underwriting discount was high, and I think that's the cost that can be brought down significantly. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to try to put some more pressure here by looking at the possibility of a competitive sale and also looking at the possibility of using an RFP process, which we will conduct, and I will assist staff in conducting. I've done it many times, which I believe will help reduce those fees.
Because I mean, I understand the need for the TRAN and the state and our cash flow issues, but if we can get those costs down, I'd also like staff to include, if we go forward with this, the next time that we do a TRAN or it comes before us, I'd like a history on what the costs have been and what they've been projected, if we could, just because when I see a projection, I want to feel really comfortable that
context.
Yeah, exactly. So if we could add that to the next time we come forward, that'd be great. All right.
Happy to.
Thank you very much.
Board Member Rodriguez.
Thank you. I do see here on page 34 of your materials that one of our major taxpayers is Campbell Soup.
Yes.
And, I'm not really certain exactly when that plant is expected to shut down. I know it's expected to shut down sometime this year. And are we truly anticipating that this amount of taxes is going to come in from them in the payment that we're expecting in, I think it's September, we expect our revenues or tax revenues come in?
Yeah, whatever shortfalls the district would receive in the property taxes, the state would backfill in terms of that state apportionment. So that's the good news. I think the bad news is, again, it makes the district all that more dependent on the state of California, who is deferring its payments to the district, which is causing this expense to be incurred to begin with.
Okay, that was my only question. I concur with Member Kennedy's statements about, put this into context. I know that some of these costs are beyond our control because of credit rating, because of current interest rates on the market. There's a lot of variables in this, and so I think that interest rates are at a low at this point.
Yes.
So it could be reflective in our interest that we're expecting to pay. Over $250,000. I don't believe that our district should be eating that cost if it's created by the state of California that keeps deferring our money that's rightly due to us. We have a room full of parents here and community members and children who, through no fault of their own, they're being subjected to the state of California and the legislators.
Yes, and we're very cognizant of that and the fact that there are actually very real and serious implications when you're taking money out of the budget to pay interest costs on money that somebody else owes you, or in this case, the state of California.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rodriguez. I think that bears repeating. The TRAN is needed because the state of California fails to pay us the money it owes us in a timely manner. If it did so, we would never incur $350,000 in costs of issuance. It has nothing to do with the district's inability to pay or that we don't have a balanced budget. Is that true?
Yes, that is. It would be no different than you working at your job all month long, but your employer deciding not to pay you during that month, but paying you maybe next month. Well, you've incurred all these living expenses for the last month. You would have to get some sort of advance in order to live for that month until you got paid. So that's exactly what it is.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Item 9.2, District Right Sizing, Resolution 2734 regarding the closure of under-enrolled school facilities at Fruit Ridge, James Marshall, Washington, C.P. Huntington, Susan B. Anthony, Bret Hart, Joseph Bonheim, Mark Hopkins, C.B. Wire, and Maple Elementary Schools. This is an action item tonight with a 30-minute presentation and a 45-minute board discussion. Superintendent Raymond.
Thank you, President Cuneo. I want to begin my presentation this evening by, first of all, thanking the community and the public. We've held a number of community meetings out at our schools, 11 in fact, and we've had lots of feedback, a lot of questions, a lot of comments, a lot of concerns, and particularly a lot of passion expressed by our community, and I want to thank them for that, and for all that we've gathered and for all that we've been able to learn. And as we make our final recommendations this evening, I want the public to understand that we've heard and we've listened, and that will be reflected in my final recommendations this evening. I want to first remind everyone, next slide please, about the consequences of not acting this evening. As we presented at the last board meeting, at this point we're projecting a budget deficit for our 13-14 school year between 5.1 and 11 million. And the reason for that gap, and still a bit of uncertainty, is again not knowing exactly what the state of California who is our major source of funding for public education, will in fact be providing us. It isn't clear what will happen yet with the governor's budget, his proposal for the local control funding formula, how that will be received and acted upon by the legislature, what in fact will happen with some of these new revenue sources generated by Proposition 30, and what the timing and what the revenue will be that comes in that largely funds public education and supports the state budget, which is through tax revenue and sales tax revenue. So that's why the uncertainty. Yet, as we know in California, by state law and education code, there are certain dates and things we have to meet. And the next big date for us occurs in March, when we must submit our second balanced budget to the County Board of Education. And so it is with that in mind that we have to present a balanced budget, even though there are so many great unknowns. And certainly, without any action to close schools this evening, we will still have to present a balanced budget to the county by the end of March. And it has been my recommendation all along that we have to now match the number of schools with the number of students that we serve in this community. It's an action that's been long needed and an action that must occur. Next slide, please. Part of the additional recommendations that will be made this evening relates to the safety and transportation of our students. We've heard loud and clear that is a major concern of our parents and our families. And so in tonight's recommendations, you will see that we've accounted for additional transportation as well as safety and security staff that have been added to the potential receiving sites. Also, based on feedback that we received when we were out at Tahoe Elementary concerning the additional numbers of students and families that would be moved into Mark Twain, and looking at what would happen, particularly at 58th Street with our high school there. Also taking into consideration that last fall, voters did approve measures Q and R, which include a significant transformation of the West Campus, high school campus, that these considerations warrant additional thought about what the impact of both adding a significant number of families and students onto the Mark Twain campus, as well as what impact that would have with the West Campus transformation. So with that in mind, the board has asked for us to consider the possibilities and potential of closing Mark Twain instead of Tahoe and having those students go to Tahoe Elementary. We do have a community meeting scheduled next week for that, and any action on the possibilities of closing one of those schools would occur at the March 7th board meeting. Next slide, please. Again, I want to emphasize that based upon the feedback that we received out at our community meetings and the thoughts and concerns and questions by the public, it's enabled us, I think, again, having criteria that was so objective, criteria that was based on looking at enrollment versus capacity, enabled us, I think, to clearly understand and hear from the community and from the public. And based upon that, this evening, my recommendations are as follows. That we recommend pulling from closure consideration James Marshall, Bret Hart, and Susan B. Anthony from any consideration for closure. And let me go through and provide some feedback. On the basis for those recommendations. First, in regards to James Marshall, this board has acted recently to create a K-8 Waldorf-inspired teachings method program at A.M. Wynn. One of the concerns we heard from the community was that while this is still a neighborhood school, the actions by the board to create a K-8 Waldorf program there have created what will become a specialty school that will in time have an impact as it transitions from a neighborhood school. Certainly we anticipate students from that neighborhood will continue to take advantage of the opportunities to attend a Waldorf-inspired school. Certainly we anticipate members of the community continuing and will go to AM Wynn, and also we're expecting families from outside of our school district to attend AM Wynn. But at this time, we do not have enough data to understand what will the impact be on surrounding neighborhood schools if James Marshall were to be closed and students would not attend AM Wynn as their neighborhood school. So based upon that, my recommendation is that we do not close James Marshall. In regards to Bret Harte, we spent some considerable time looking at the very soon, and it's already been occurring development that is taking place at Curtis Park Village. That is the old former rail yard located between Curtis Park and what is now Sacramento City College. That land has been cleaned. That land has been prepared. The project's been permitted, and they will start major infrastructure improvements later on this current year, as well as beginning to build residential housing units. At its peak, that project will bring 500 new residential units into that area. And there is at this point no other elementary schools that are in close proximity. So based upon that information and its potential impact on enrollment at the Bret Harte campus, I am recommending that Bret Harte be removed from the list of potentially closed schools. For Susan B. Anthony, again, we spent time with those that are involved with the Delta Shores project. Again, this is a project that has recently received not only approval but funding from the city of Sacramento to create an exit and a new spur off of I-5. That infrastructure work will begin this year, continuing into next. They will start the commercial build-out, followed shortly in 14 and 15 with the residential, which will bring at its peak 1,100 residential units into that area of South Sacramento. And while the school district has reserved 2 potential parcels in that development for building new schools, we think it's actually prudent at this time that, again, with the lack of available data on what the impact will have on surrounding schools and their enrollment, that we remove Susan B. Anthony from the list to be considered closed. Therefore, my revised recommendations for closure are as followed. C.B. Wire, C.P. Huntington, Fruit Ridge Elementary, Joseph Bonheim, Maple Elementary, and Mark Hopkins, with a change in how there would be and where students would go, that I'm recommending that the board consider making Rosa Parks a K-8 school, and that come back to the board for action at a meeting in March in order for that grade configuration change to be made after having a meeting with the Rosa Parks community. Following Mark Hopkins, Washington Elementary. Next slide, please. We have revised our projected savings to account for increases in transportation and increases in crossing guards and other security staff at our schools. We have also looked at some additional staffing which would be needed at receiving schools. These would be Pacific Elementary, Elder Creek, and Ethel Phillips. So, and with those transition costs, a one-year projected savings in the first year of $1.3 million, with subsequent savings, again, for these going from 11 to 7 schools a projected annual savings of $1.5 million. And depending upon action at its March 7th board meeting, those costs and projected savings would adjust if board took action on either Tahoe Elementary or Mark Twain Elementary. Significant to note that the 10-year projected savings is $15 million. Next slide, please. Next steps, depending upon board action, the transition process would begin tomorrow, February 22nd. We have a community meeting scheduled at Mark Twain Elementary on February 27th. Board action on March 7th for either Tahoe or Mark Twain Elementary. And again, we've extended the open enrollment window. That window would close on March 15th, at which point then there would be a determination based upon those students and families that chose to go into the open enrollment process. Again, any families and children impacted by a closure this evening would have priority for those first seats in the open enrollment process. I then urge the board, as we have discussed, to go forward and to look into appointing a committee on repurposing. That committee would then recommend members to form a 7-11 committee, drawing upon expertise and partnerships within our community, and that they begin the process then of looking at the reuse and the repurposing of any school sites that are acted upon this evening, as well as other properties that the district owns throughout the city of Sacramento and the county of Sacramento. Next slide, please. And that concludes my updated recommendations to the board.
Thank you, Superintendent Raymond. I know this will be a long and emotional night, and we will have many hours of public comment. So just to kind of try to frame how we can go about doing this in a fair and a good manner. We are giving everybody 2 minutes to speak. We ask that you keep to the 2 minutes to be fair to everyone. Also, we ask that you hold your applause until the end. I will, as past President Rodriguez has said, and I will take her suggestions, we've done the silent clap in the past, which is if you're in agreement, we can raise our hands to show your agreement with the speaker and what's being said. So also, because this is the sort of the second public forum we've had around school closures, we are going to try to reverse the order we did last time. We kept everybody as best we could in school orders, but we're going to reverse the order to give the people who had to wait until 11:30 last time the opportunity to come up first. So with that, Mr. Ross.
If our first four speakers can please line up behind the podium. Roy Grimes, Donna Rico, Cindy Salazar, and Lenny Cervantes.
President Cooney, I wish you would indulge me. I think I have a person who did not want to speak will allow me to have one of her minutes. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right. Board President Cuneo, honorable board members in session, and Superintendent Raymond. My name is Roy Grimes, President of Education Equity and Sustainable Community Development Corporation, nonprofit organizations focused on school improvement and neighborhood and community viability. Over the years in this community, while raising my children, I have been involved with PTA, School Side Council, Youth Soccer, Little League, Youth Basketball, School Board, both city and county, Chambers of Commerce, NAACP, Urban League, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Safety Center, School Attendance Review Board, Child Advocacy, Girl Scout Council, City Planning Commission, Governor's Office of Planning and Research, Certificated Teacher, and numerous other community-based organizations and issues tied to or related to education, youth development, and urban planning. The education neighborhood dyad cannot be separated, nor can the debate about the use or non-use of facilities within neighborhoods, which to some degree will impact other schools, students, adults, children, neighborhoods, economic development, traffic, employment, and politics, for example. During post-World War II Reconstruction, Winston Churchill stated, "We shape our buildings and then they shape us." President Obama's Partnership for Sustainable Community speaks to the notion of community livability. That is, measures that indicate the livability of communities, that is, quality of life, neighborhoods, and metropolitan areas. There is a symmetry and connectivity of issues and policy linked to the urban setting. Schools are a piece of the puzzle, and decisions regarding overall livability affect each and every one. Potential school closures are no different. We often hear talk within education of showing concern for the development of the whole child, of educating the whole child. Well, communities are no different regarding their health as well. The totality of the community impact should at least be considered and discussed. Mark Twain once said that every time you stop a school, you will have to build a jail. What you gain at one end, you lose at the other. It's like feeding a dog on its own tail. It won't fatten the dog. If you have not come to a final conclusion regarding your school closure decision, I would recommend that you seriously consider it from a whole community perspective. If you have come to a final conclusion on your decision, I would recommend that as you move forward, your process include the authentic participation of community stakeholders and publics, and that issues such as neighborhood employment, yes, you can tie that to your bond measure, safe routes to schools, and other sustainable community development issues connected to livability be put on the table. And yes, as a school board and district, you can get involved in community development actions. And I encourage you to do that. In Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, Alice asked the Cheshire Cat, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" The cat answered, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." "I don't much care where," replied Alice, only to be answered by the cat, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." "As long as I get somewhere," Alice added. "Oh, you're sure to do that," said the cat, "if you only walk straight ahead." So when it comes to school closures, including Washington Elementary, and facility use, the community cannot afford for you to be like Alice, not much care which direction you go, or to utilize a faulty decision strategy in regards to the closures. Thank you.
Thank you.
As our next speaker approaches the microphone, if our next 5 speakers can please line up. Nadalyn Ya, Maya Va, Melanie Lowe, Heidi Monshor Va, and Asia Jinghai Va.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Salazar. My grandson is a student at Washington Elementary, and I am here to urge the board to vote no to this proposal and to take Washington off the list. The impact on our community, an older established community, the history of the school in the city, as well as the impact on the current families, is so great. And this decision is short-sighted. This proposal is short-sighted and does not take those into account. At our school, we've had several years with a difficult administrator, and those difficulties, along with con-capping and open enrollment, have drained the enrollment from our school. So this is not a matter of our school failing the district, but a matter of the district failing our school. And I would urge you all to reconsider this decision. You have no idea what the impact is going to be in our older established community. If Bret Hart was taken off of the list for consideration, please consider the fact also that in our attendance area, a second affordable housing development broke ground the day that the announcement came out in our attendance area. 75% of our students live in our attendance area. You are taking away a neighborhood school. Also, according to the district's sustainable facility reports, Our school at Washington is the lowest of 3 in our area in terms of what it would take for our school to become a California highest performing school. The lowest of 3. 1 is a priority school. And I just do not believe that this is the right choice for our neighborhood, our community, our city, or our school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salazar.
Good evening, Superintendent Raymond and school board members. My name is Natalie Yang, and I am from Susan B. Anthony. I don't want you to shut my school down because I have been there long enough to know that Susan B. Anthony is a great school. Please don't shut this neighborhood school down. It will be a mistake. You said students first. I am a student, and I say keep our schools open. Thank you.
Good evening, all board members and Mr. Raymond. Today, all board members, my name is Heidi Macho Vang from Susan B. Anthony. All board members vote no on the school closure. Help save our education. My friends and I want to make achievement freely, and one day sit in one of the chairs all of you are sitting in now. The decision you make will affect the student and me, our education, and our future. Please vote no tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, all board members and Mr. Raymond. My name is Asia Yang Aiva. I am from Susan B. Anthony. All board members, my friend and I need all of you to vote no today because it is not fair to close our school. We just started to have the Hmong program. The decision was made without our permission. Because Mr. Raymond, everyone thinks that we are too little, so they can make the decision without sharing with us. But it hurts too. This is not right. We have the right to vote too. Save our school. Thank you. Ocho. I'm going to give my time to my mom.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie Lowe, a parent of 4 children attending Susan B. Anthony, and representing the parents and communities we asked before making the final decision tonight. For all the board members and the superintendent, in order for this process to meet its achievements, the parents and communities must receive the following from you, Jonathan Raymond, and the 7 board members: our freedom of democracy, our civil rights, our equal rights, and our liberty. The need of extension of time for the 11 school closure should be devoted exclusively to meet the communities and the parents' venture. The district is responsible to resolve the issue, not the children, parents, or the communities. Mr. Raymond and all board members, all of you come and you go as political terms. But what continue to grow are these beautiful children. The children are the important role for this matter. Whether the board decision to vote yes or no tonight, we as parents and communities will stand strong next to all of these children. We will not give up, but will work with you, Mr. Raymond, and all the board members, hand on hand, whatever the outcome is tonight. We want to secure and provide every of our school a healthy, peaceful, and educational environment for every one of our children. Let us say to all the 7 board members, before making your vote tonight, make your choice wisely. Remember, each of your vote will be committed to an act of physical aggression against the children, parents, and communities of the 11th school. As citizen parents and communities, we demand a no vote tonight and find a better solution to resolve the district issue. Your future political position will be in the hand of the citizen parents and communities you see here tonight. And for all the parents that are still have name on the list, remember, we are united and we will not be divided. And parents of all the school, Susan B. Anthony parents, as a key leader, we will support all the school and make sure they don't shut all the school. We are all in the same boat. Thank you.
Hi, board member and superintendent. My name is Ma Ying Vang, and I am part of Hmong Innovating Politics, HIP organizer. I have spoken at 2 past board meetings, and I come to you today as a voter and a product of the school district. Over the past week, during the short time frame that you have given the community, HIP has worked tirelessly with parents from all 11 schools to get them on the same page with the information they need to understand the issue at hand. I have worked particularly close with 3 schools, Mark Hopkins, James Marshalls, and Susan B. Anthony. And I've seen firsthand the passion, the dedication, and the commitment they have to their families, their schools, and their communities. These parents have also worked tirelessly to mobilize their parents to voice their concerns about the wrong sizing proposal that the superintendent has proposed. Today, the superintendent recommended to take off 3 schools, and as a coalition behind these 11 schools, we will not let you divide and conquer us. Studies have shown across the U.S., in Chicago and Philly, and now here in our own cities, that school closures based on flawed test scores and underutilization metrics, which is one that was used for criteria for under-enrollment, have had continued desperate racial impact on communities of color, resulting in poor educational outcomes. For HIP, as a young organizing political machine, we saw that this wrong sizing plan was an attack on our communities. Suppressing the voice of our community in the closure plan is not right sizing, it's wrong sizing. Saving less than 1% of the budget to destroy our schools and thousands of families is not right sizing, it's wrong sizing. And putting your interests over the needs of our student is not right sizing, it's wrong sizing. So get it right. We demand equity, we demand justice, and we demand a no vote for all school, not just the 3 that you took off. HIP as an organizing machine and the Hmong ad hoc in Sacramento will make sure that everybody knows that if you on the board want another term on the school board or any future political career, you don't do that by running over our students, our parents, and our community. Should you vote yes tonight, know that Sacramento and my community will hold you accountable for your actions. Tonight, however, you have the opportunity to make things right by changing the course of history, a history of bad policy making. It is time to move this district in the right direction, a direction that brings the community together to find the best solution, not tear us apart like you were planning to do earlier today. If you vote yes to close all the schools, then we, the community in Sacramento, will stand united with our voices and our votes to ensure that you will not have a voice at the table in the next and future elections. Make the right decision. Vote no. A no vote is a vote for our students, our families, our communities. United, we will work together to help you find the right solution so that we can move this district forward. Thank you.
If our next 5 speakers can please line up behind the podium. Song Tao, Su Vang, Alexander Ya, Vaming Zhang, and Vincent Vasquez.
Good evening. My name is Lenny Cervantes. I'm a parent of a child that goes to Washington Elementary School. I'm basically, I don't have a speech or anything, but I'm basically here to state that, taking away all of our schools, all of our community schools will be a big loss to all of our children. I'm a working parent. They have on-site childcare at Washington Elementary School, which a lot of the other schools do not offer. It is funded through the state. That's how, I can have a full-time job. And I know I'm not the only parent out there that has to work full-time. If I could live on a part-time job, great, but a lot of the parents can't. A lot of the parents have 2 incomes. And by taking most of that away, will be a huge loss. Also, I'm sure you know that, with Washington Elementary School, that's the only school in that area. All the other parents have to either walk, or you guys say you guys are going to provide transportation, but as soon as something gets cut, transportation is going to be the first to go. All of those buses that you say are going to provide to either bus out to Southland Park or to Theater Judah, it may work for a while, but in reality, you guys know that that's the first thing to go. And how are parents going to get, going to be able to leave their jobs, go pick up their kids from school if their kid gets sick? A lot of those parents walk their children to Washington. It's a community school. A lot of these are community schools. And, before you guys vote yes on the closures, or, just think about what you guys are actually going to do to the community. We hope that you guys vote no, but who knows?
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Yang. I am from Susan B. Anthony. I don't want my school to close. It will be very sad to happen. I don't want my school to be a school bus or bus stop. That is unfair. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nhớ trong thật trong tu cho Mr. Raymond, theo chấm board members nên số lượng số tu tân cho nhiệt chí cho sư phụ cho thầy sư phụ tôi đã học lúc chạy shalom mana.
Good evening, Mr. Raymond, board members, all the teachers, parents, and community members.
Ulum bay wan song tha cũng mong nhiều cần tới đó Susan B. Anthony. Go ahead.
My name is Song Tao, and I have kids attending Susan B. Anthony.
Mana cũng mỗi cái question nông ở đây cũng xã thọ nông ở đây nếu ở đây sai tọt cá này thì con này ở đây này dùng mong nhiều trâu ở đây. Đó là cũng sai là một chỉ do linh đó là nếu muốn nhiệt sẽ trâu ở đây là.
I just have a concern on the questions that there are two signs behind you that says put children's first, but I think you are putting your financial crisis first instead of our children.
Cô Halina hay cho bé cho nhiệt sĩ tôi mà nó theo bé cho cần tới cho cây nó mà nó Halina bé cho cô cho nó bé mình sợ chân chân đó hay còn thì nó chỉ phụ cầu cho sẽ cần tới nó.
I'm telling all of our schools, the schools that are going to be closed, and all the parents thereof, that for all of us to unite and stand strong. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
As our next speaker approaches the microphone, if our next 5 speakers can please line up. Julian Tillman, Jillian King, Scott Chase, Leng Cha, and Danetta Garcia.
Good evening, Superintendent Raymond, Board President Gunil, and members of the board. My name is Van Ming Cheong. I am the chairman of the Hmong American Ad Hoc Committee. As you might remember, back in 2007, I was the key leader that leading thousands of Hmong people to protest the wrongful accusation against General Wang Peng and his team, and mainly fighting for social justice. And I really appreciate Superintendent Raymond. You came to the Hmong community a few meetings. We have a chance to talk. And as I listen to the parents' concern, is it a fair process? This is only one criteria, which is under enrollments. And then the question is about the 3 priority schools. If it's only one criteria, how come we have an exception for those 3 priority schools? So we had to ranking those schools and cut off the 11th school. If we do that, that will be including those 3 priority schools. And I think many parents have a concern whether this is a fair process. So as a community leader, I'm here tonight to really encourage the board to vote no and to find a better process so that way all community leaders, as well as the parents and students, have a chance to say what they need to say to have a fair process. So thank you, and please vote no tonight.
Thank you.
How you doing? It's me again, Julian Tillman from Susan B. Anthony. 2 minutes, first of all, ain't long enough because you guys are doing a vote, and there's a lot of people out here. I just came from driving from the Bay, coming from work. I couldn't even find a parking spot. I mean, that tells you how many people are just supporting their kids. So I got a little happy when you guys said Susan B., but like they said, we're all in this together. So it's kind of like you guys can't sit back there with this big panel like public defenders. You need to be like high-paid lawyers fighting and finding a way to make this happen. So if it's money or whatever the case is, like I heard from some of you guys, we need to fight more to keep these schools open. I mean, I don't know if you guys are putting enough into what it takes to keep them open. You guys said March you're going to vote and the budget, and I woke up about a month or so ago and heard about the school closings. I mean, I don't know how many people heard about the closings before then, but we just heard about it. So it's kind of like you let me pinch in the ninth inning and I'm already losing. So, I mean, it's your job to keep our kids in a safe environment and to make sure they're learning and doing what they're supposed to do. And like they said, I don't know what to say, but you guys need to step up a little more to make sure that we get what I need. We get what I need for our kids. I mean, you guys sat up there and said you're going to do all you can for our schools and you're going to fight, and you guys had emotion in here, and it's kind of hard for us to talk to a wall because we're not having a conversation back. We're just talking to you guys, and you guys are making these faces, and you're kind of looking, but we really can't have a conversation. And like I said, most people are fighter. Where I come from, we're the Bobcats. We fight hard. When I was a kid, we won all our games in football, but we knew what we were up against. We don't know what we're up against. What do we need to do? Give us a goal so we can meet it. You guys are not giving us a goal, so how can we meet it? You say you need to call and call and call to show how serious we are. I had to park way around the corner. I couldn't get in this place. If that's not serious, I mean, look at these people, man. There are people in the back. There's people watching us on TV. I mean, how serious do we need to get here? I mean, I don't care if we need to keep all these schools open. We need to find a way to do this. I don't think I don't think that it's fair to just come up and, I don't think it's fair to just come up with this after you guys already did Proposition 30 or whatever. You put it to a vote. We passed the vote. So now we don't even know what you guys are really going to vote on to help us be prepared to make that. So what are we supposed to do when you guys are not giving us a chance to meet our goal? Give us another year and let's see what we need to do and vote on time. We need time. So that's what the vote should be. We need time. Give us time, give us a goal, and watch how we stand up to the challenge.
Thank you.
My name is Jillian King. I am representing the Mark Twain students, staff, and parents tonight with my esteemed colleague, Scott Chase. We do not challenge the original closure criteria presented by the district, and as you know, we do not meet the criteria for closure. In fact, we have not met the criteria for the past 16 years. A quick review of the historic enrollment receiving sites analysis on page 9 of your item 9.2 packet will show our average enrollment is 499 and our average use percentage is 57. Closing Mark Twain will result in a financial loss to the district for a multitude of reasons. Under Ms. Guillen's stewardship, we have streamlined processes to reduce equipment and labor costs, jointly integrated facilities, and shared resources with West Campus, which has resulted in an estimated savings cost of $250,000 annually. We are a cost-effective, safe, and well-administered site. This cannot be denied. We are the only site on the closure list that spent less than our adopted budget and that also returned a budget surplus last year. It should also be noted we are only one of 9 elementary schools in the entire district to operate this prudently. So why has Mark Twain been singled out and pitted against another school? We agree that the financial crisis the district is currently facing must be remedied, and the decision to include Mark Twain on the closure list is jeopardizing the district's original plan. However, this can be remedied with a simple amendment to Resolution 2734 that removes Mark Twain from the closure list, and by doing so, you also remove the emotion and hearsay that is clouding the original closure plan. All sites up for closure will then have the same criteria applied. We applaud Mr. Cuneo for his statement in Sacramento Bee today. Individual schools should not be singled out. We pray to the board members to amend Resolution 2734, removing Mark Twain from the closure list, and then, and only then, place your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Scott Chase. I'm a teacher in the district. I come before you tonight to inform you that you had criteria that you were using to close schools. And that criteria was enrollment and percent of facility use, teachable space. Not only does Mark Twain have 78 more students than Tahoe, but we're using 45% of the space compared to Tahoe Elementary's 40%. I've been a teacher for 24 years. I've never been in a safer school than Mark Twain Elementary. It's amazing. We are so blessed to be next door to West Campus High School. Every day, an army of 70 tutors comes to Mark Twain free of cost. 3 of them come to my room, 3 high school seniors. This cost would add up to $627,000 of instructional aids. Mark Twain has a cafeteria. In fact, our cafeteria is larger than Tahoe. We can seat 200 students. Tahoe can seat 160. We save the district about $250,000 every year because we share one cooking facility. You know, Measure Q&R was passed to improve our schools. Don't use that against us to close a great school. The relationship that Mark Twain has between West Campus, I cannot tell you, I've never been in a school like this. Every day I have role models walk into my room every day, and they do nothing but instruct students. I have 33 students in my classroom. 5 of them are on a different grade level. I can do everything I can, but I cannot give them the individual time that these tutors do. Mark Twain is an extremely safe campus. Please remove it from the criteria. It never met the criteria. There were some things that were said that were emotional, and they were hearsay. Mark Twain is a safe campus. It does not meet your criteria for school closure, and it saves money. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm here on behalf of my 3 little babies. I'm teaching them currently.
Your name, ma'am?
My name is Adriana Gamboa, thank you. And I'm saying that I'm teaching them you fight with your words, not with your fists. And that's what I'm doing here. If money is the issue, $15 million over the span of 10 years is nothing. If you've seen on the news, the mayor has tried to save the Kings and gather over $300 million in the matter of weeks. I think that you guys can rally together and go against the mayor and say, I have a choice. The budget is everything that we need. We're not cutting anything. And if you guys believe that you don't have a choice on going against and standing, you see the young lady, how we backed her, that we're not going to allow you to close it. We will back you if you have to stand up to the mayor or the state and say, we need this money and we're going to get it. And if you guys are scared that, well, what if they start researching us? If you guys are spending it where it should be spent, there should be no fear of you being audited. You understand? Thank you. And now to the public, I wanted the public to know, if you hear them say this matter will be tabled, this matter will be postponed, that is not why we are here. We are here to say that this matter is not now ever, or will it ever. We want it to be an option. Closure is not an option for us. Our kids' opportunities are here, and they're going to continue to grow. We may not be as smart, we may be as ignorant as the next street person, but you know what? I'm here starting with my babies, and hopefully they can continue on theirs. Your past fought for you guys to be educated. Don't put us down for that. We're fighting for ours to get where you guys are at. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Lane Cha, but I would like to save my time for Danetta Garcia.
Good evening, members of the board. Good evening, citizens in the audience, children of the generation that will rule our lives. Good evening to you too. Today will be yesterday tomorrow. And if we live our todays for a better tomorrow, our yesterdays will be worth the remembrance. Here is what we ask you. As Mr. Raymond so eloquently said on every single video that I have watched of his speeches throughout his career, when he came to Sacramento, he made several points. Those were, 1, class size matters. educating our children matter. If we have smaller class sizes where teachers can manage the children, those children will thrive. And therefore, the idea that size reduction is the reason that we are closing schools somehow negates his very words. He also said, people matter, families matter, culture matters, as he went from home to home to home to home, introducing himself as the man of change who would bring equality to our schools, who would ensure that our Asian population, our Hispanic population, African American population, Muslim, Jews, all of our populations would get a fair, equitable shake. And he was going to stand forward on our behalf. I listened to those words. I admired those words. And come today, it's unfortunate that all that was rhetoric. All we do when we speak is move our lips. It is with our minds and our hearts that we move the mountains. I come today to say several things, one of which, you can only persuade a person who allows their mind to persuade them. Most individuals are not persuaded by their religion. They're not persuaded by their moral values. They're not persuaded by their family upbringing. At the moment of truth, when they need to do something, they're only persuaded by their own mind. And their mind cripples them because they contradict what they really know is right. I'm very happy today to stand here as a representative of many cultures. My name is Danetta Garcia. I am an African American. I am a female. I represent my Jewish culture. I was the community governmental relations chair for the APAPA in Capitol, the biggest Asian organizations this region and perhaps this nation has ever seen.
Thank you, ma'am.
The Russian community, I am a partner with them and have done many things to help represent the Slavic community. And I say to you, time means nothing to me because time for me is governed by God. And I will allow that time to continue to govern me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Cunyo, I hope that is the pronunciation of your name.
Yes, it is.
I thank you too, but I will not be stirred by your thanks, and I will not be moved until I am done. Today is a new day. We will make a change. If all of the families in all of these schools that are determined to close join with me, for I am with them, we will find a way. I raised over $52 million in 24 days for the city of Elk Grove when it incorporated. With the help of many members, we'll do it again. All you have to do is ask.
Thank you, ma'am.
Table this so that we can have a better discussion. Think out of the box. Move away from the box. Mr. Raymond,
Thank you, ma'am.
think about your statements. They were powerful when you spoke them. They have to mean something now. They cannot be empty. It cannot be a hole in your glass where the water spills out. We ask you, among other members here, to join with your community, as I have joined with each of you. And Mr. Henson, I ask you to thank you not to leave the room when a whole slew of conversation is happening. And I regret that you did at your last meeting. But I honor you because you're here today and you have sat still and have not moved. Your BlackBerry has not once received a text. And Mr. Kennedy, I respect you as a human being. In fact, I live in your district. And I want you, sir, to ensure that you dig deep on the reasons we thought you were the better choice and help us succeed to the next level. It is our country. We have not given sovereignty over to our hired employees who sit before me. We have not given up our sovereignty.
I appreciate
And
your
we
comments.
will not give up our sovereignty. We will move until the mountain is out of our way.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your consideration.
Our next Our next 5 comments. Our next 5 speakers are Tracy Green, Chia Ji Her, Teng Va, Go Ku Va, and Veronica Lorta.
Good evening, Superintendent, Mr. Raymond, and school board members. My name is Kokuba. I am a student from Mark Hopkins. And again, I have been in Mark Hopkins for 4 years. I don't want the school to get closed because all the teachers are nice to me and the principal too. The teacher always taught us how to read and write. The principal always taught us how to be calm, responsible, and fair. I also have friends in Mark Hopkins. They are really nice and friendly. So please don't close down my school. Not only that this school, Mark Hopkins, is also my life, but it is also like my own too. Please don't close down my school. So vote no today. Thank you. Ocho.
Thank you.
Nên vào no no.
Wants you to vote no.
Nhớ rằng trâu cho thơ cho lo rồi mẹ thia cho tuổi trẻ cần đỡ.
Good evening, Mr. Raymond and board members.
Can we have his name, please?
No, Gulumbe hua tangwa.
My name is Teng Ba.
The no ku yo tangwa ku sa hai trò nè chua tu hua nho sổ cò ku sa thọ cò nè thọ cờ tan thọ cổ y lu chế cần đỡ.
I implore you not to close the 11 schools that were suggested.
Vì chế cần đỡ do mẹ nhỏ cho cái bảo số thia cho cái chia sẻ cho lu nên tồn tại.
Because education is it's the kids' dream and their hope for the future.
Cú mua ý tu thầy hữu hòa gạo cử và cờ đỡ cho lu chế cờ đỡ hữu hòa mỏ học kinh.
I have a daughter named Gokuva that attends Mount Hopkins.
Cú bỏ tao cú tu mẹ nhỏ cho cái cờ đỡ nữ cờ tao để hành qua trâu cú rong xia hành trâu lu chế cẩn đỡ thia cho si hư và thia cú tu mẹ nhỏ.
My daughter is excelling in her schoolwork, and I'm very thankful for the school and the teachers at the school.
Cú xã có nè cho cơ lu chế mỏ học kinh thia cho cổ y lu chế cẩn đỡ và cho. Thank you.
Therefore, I say it again that I don't want you to close Mount Hopkins and the 11th school that you suggested. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Và cho. Goodbye.
My name is Kia Xiong. Hello to all board members. I'm here to tell you not to close the 11 suggested schools.
Kuya itu ni ti nyata jika tahu mahap yang tua.
I'm a parent of a student attending Mount Hopkins.
Kuma itu menyo ho Kevin ha nung kan tahu jo na mahap yang jangan ku paling tuan dari si dia jauh principal tuan dari si.
I have a son that attends Mount Hopkins, and I'm very happy that the teachers are also here and the principal at Mount Hopkins is also here.
Ku hai tu ni dia cho ni chủ sai bây giờ cần có mua nông kỳ dia cho mà sai các cái
I'm telling you, please value our schools and don't look at like it's something that you can just shove it away.
ni nó là là chừng từ passport thì dia cho mà nhẹ dia cho là dia cho thu được khen đầu cho mình nhỏ giờ ta su dia giờ chuẩn đủ thì gì.
Even nowadays, the principal is busy looking for funds to get tutors to help the students after school.
Mấy tụ đã có tập phở hơn, giờ ta lo nâng cỡ mà học kèn thia, nâng cỡ tàu bé lâu xuống nâng tàu một tàu lú vô sự phở.
I also had another child that used to attend Mount Hopkins and is now attending Wilsey Wood.
Là khen tụ ni chứ thọ ni thì thọ cỡ lúc chỉ cần tới thọ có ni sai bé có muốn nông kỳ thia. Cũng mà lùi nào thì.
Therefore, I'm just imploring you that not to close the 11th school and to please value us too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
If our next 5 speakers can please line up behind the podium. Monica Jones, Jormine.
Good evening, board members.
It's okay.
Monica Jones, Jormine Aguilar, Tasha Weatherall, Patricia Gentle, and Trerva.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
I apologize for that. Good evening, board members, parents, students. My name is Tracy Green Hargrave, and I'm here on behalf of the community and Mark Hopkins Elementary. I like to vote no on closing down Mark Hopkins Elementary. Our children may be able to get educated at another site, but would they get the quality of education? Change due to overcrowded classrooms and underpaid teachers whose jobs are also in jeopardy as well. Who will compensate for the parents' loss of work time trying to get their kids to another location? Transportation, as far as public transportation, is not an option for my elementary school's children. And right now, they're able to walk to school with their siblings, and I don't want them separated, and I'm afraid of them being harassed or bullied on their way to other schools in different parts of our city because it's happening a lot. And I just want to know if the closing of the 11 schools is affecting any of the board members' children or you guys' jobs. Because we were told 2 weeks ago at the Meadowview Center, that all our answers would be answered tonight at this meeting. I have not gotten an answer. Besides, we're still working on it. Please don't close the schools. Our kids need them. They're our future. We're closing schools, building jails, truancy higher. If those schools are closed and there's no transportation, I'm a single parent. I don't have a vehicle. Buses, no one spoke about how would they get to these other sites. It's just unfair to the students, the teachers, the communities. So please, whatever the situation is, if we can resolve it without closing 11 schools, please let it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine, and I am a Mighty Husky at Mark Hopkins. I wanted to come today to ask you, why are you going to close our school? I really like our school. I like it because, first, we have the best teachers, the best principal, and the managers, the people in the office who help us. In my class, I like it when it is math time
because you get to learn more about division and times tables. Thank you. Please save our Hopkins.
Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Raymond and all board members. My name is Patricia Gentle, and I am a parent at Mark Hopkins Elementary School. My son Joshua is in the 2nd grade. I believe that recommending Mark Hopkins and Rosa Parks to be a K-8 would be a great idea. I have asked that question many times. Now the question is, when would we know if this will take place? If my son were here tonight, he would say that he, as well as Jasmine, have been friends since kindergarten, and even though they are not in the same class in 2nd grade, they still see each other every day. Please vote no to keep our schools open so they, as well as all other students and friends, stay together. Save Mark Hopkins. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Tasha Weatherall, and public speaking makes me very nervous, so sorry for the faltering voice. I stood up here about 6 years ago and asked you not to change from year-round to traditional school, and I stood up here 3 years ago and asked that you save our school, and I'm asking you this time to save our school. But I know that I can't change your mind at this point. I know that your decision has been made. What I'm asking at this point is that you take care of our kids, and because they are the ones that are important. We will survive, we'll be fine, we'll move on to another school, or we'll stay at the one we're at, but you have to make sure that our children are taken care of at their new schools. We hear of schools that have closed, and the children who have moved into new schools get bullied and are not taken care of. We have to make sure that if you are affecting 2,000 to 3,000 children, that they are taken care of, and that has to be your number one priority. So school closure or not, which I don't agree with personally, but if that's your decision, please make sure that those children and families are taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Trera Vang. I'm a teacher at Mark Hopkins Elementary School. I've been teaching for a while. It saddens my heart to know that many of the students at Mark Hopkins, at the other 10 schools, who come from broken families will now be a part of a broken community. They will be having more difficult choices, difficult duties laid upon their shoulders. And I've been coming to all the Common Core trainings for math. I've been taught in Common Core training to allow our students to have the opportunity to talk amongst themselves, to engage with each other, to find ways to solve our problems. And here we are, allowing just one-sided. And so I feel brokenhearted. I would like for us to be part of the community, allow the community to help make the decision. And I feel as, I come to these trainings to learn new ways to solve problems. I don't feel that we're doing justice. And I encourage you to, as my colleague has said, take care of our children. I've been called mom. I've been called grandma. I've been a nurse in my classroom. So I'm not just a teacher. I have played many roles for my students, and I love all my students as my children, and I ask you and I encourage you to make decisions that will nurture our children, not hurt them any further. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
If our next 5 speakers can please line up behind the podium: Max Mendoza, Sandy Ojeda, Leticia Charles, Alejandro Garcia, and Israel Garcia.
Good evening. My name is Monica Jones, and I'm a volunteer at Mark Hopkins Elementary School. I do not live in the Saxony Unified School District. I prior to my coming here as a volunteer, I had a career in corrections. I'm a retired parole agent, 24 years. I worked 3 prisons, 2 parole regions, and I've managed 2 drug programs before I retired in 2010. And I started my volunteerism in Natomas, where I live, in 2006. So that pathway to prison that you hear about is real. And so I give my time because I don't want to see children graduating and transitioning from schools into the prison. And I formed a nonprofit, and so I give my time 4 days a week at 6 different school sites. Dr. Simmons over at Mark Hopkins is doing some phenomenal things. Every week that I'm there, this is one of my mentees. I mentor a group of girls, 5th and 6th graders at Mark Hopkins. And every week that I'm on that campus is thriving. When I was a parole agent, when I came here in 2001, the South Sacramento Meadowview area was my area of supervision, so I know that area very well. And when you close a school, it's devastating to the community. Crime rises and its property values go down. It's a devastating thing. I've been through this process in my own school district. I'm asking you not to do this. There's other options. There's people out here, if you just ask them, they'll do like I am doing and come in and volunteering their time. I don't have a contract with your district. I'm giving my time for free. You guys have a lot of programs in the Sac City Unified School District, and you're paying a lot of money, and I'm sure there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of things you can cut to save these schools. So I'm asking you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Max Mendoza, good evening. Board members, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent. What I'm seeing here is that you people, even though you're doing something that is bad, it's wrong, and you shouldn't do what you're doing. When you close a school down, it's just like telling the parents, we don't care, we're going to do what we want to do. Now, you mentioned about City College and that redevelopment over there. It's just coincidence. It does belong in the Curtis Park area. They're well represented. We haven't had no representation since the late Mayor Joe Cerna. He did something that, we were amazed. We were hoping that he would do more. He put all those ugly power poles underground and brought it all the way to Fruit Ridge. Sure, the place looks shabby. There's signs that say no low riding, no loitering. That's fine too, but nevertheless, it's ugly. Anytime you insult the community, we as parents, we can correct our children if they're doing wrong. But it seems that our governments are the ones that are doing wrong today. Lying, cheating, hiding money. It's hard. When I look at you guys and you make these kind of decisions, it's just like seeing Congress, a Republican Party that doesn't like nobody. And to me, that is ugly again. Now, you're doing us a favor because you're waking us up. We've been asleep for a while, and that was because we were less fortunate. Now, if you did want to do something beautiful, you should start with 47th Avenue. That looks terrible. I don't see how you guys can not see what we see. The weeds in the summertime grow 5 foot high. The kids that live in that area, they have to jump over the barriers just to get to school back over in here.
Thank you, Mr.
You don't
Mendoza.
have no consideration for a crosswalk. What kind of a board of education is that?
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
I'm not lying. That's what I see, and no one's done nothing about it. Now, I've spoken to you several times. I don't like to write letters, but we can write you a letter. We wrote a letter when Mejia, she was the superintendent during the time when Manny was the president, and we got something done. Now, like I told you here the other day, if I have to write a letter, I will. But I'd rather exhaust these remedies because they're trivial.
Thank you, Mr.
Don't
Mendoza.
close schools down, because once you open that can of worms, what you're going to be doing is buying buses, and they're not cheap. You're going to help some corporation. The refineries, the gas companies, they love this. Tires,
Thank you.
mechanics.
Appreciate your comments.
Think about it. Think about what you guys are doing. You guys are supposed to be professionals. We're supposed to respect you. But do something that is right for all of us. Don't segregate us. Do what an affirmative action would do.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
And if you can do that, you'll get my support. Now, Mr. Kennedy, I've known you for a few years. I feel that we're on the same page, same thing with you, Gustavo. I feel that you guys can do something. When you close
I
a school,
appreciate your comments, Mr. Mendoza.
put a
We have a
lot-
lot
yes.
of people here tonight
I will.
who do want to speak.
I will.
We need to.
But what I
let
have
other
to say
people
is something that I've been wanting to say for a long time, and we need you people to understand that maybe we live on the other side of the tracks, but we're not dumb, and we're watching you guys. Don't lie to us. That is ugly. You guys sit up here and dictate to us. Don't think that we don't see that. Be part of the community.
Thank you,
Take a
Mr.
walk
Mendoza.
into the community. See what's out there, what you can do.
Mr.
Be a
Mendoza,
citizen.
We have 100 people here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello? Hello? Oh, Leticia Charles, she left early, but she wants to give her minutes to her. So, introduce.
Buenas tardes, miembros del comité. Mi nombre es Paulina y soy madre de familia de Maple Elementary.
Good evening, board members. My name is Paulina, and I am a parent of a student in Maple Elementary.
Paulina, do you want an interpreter? Or is this okay? Okay.
Estoy aquí, prácticamente he asistido a todas las reuniones que han tenido después de la noticia que nos dieron sobre el cierre de escuelas.
I've practically attended all the meetings that you guys have offered every day since after you guys let us know that they were going to close the schools.
Voy a tomar las mismas palabras que ustedes acaban de mencionar hace un momento. Tomaron en consideración 3 escuelas, no cerrarlas porque son parte de un vecindario.
I'm going to take in consideration the same words that you guys spoke earlier before, that you guys are going to take into consideration to not close the 3 schools down because they are all part of a community.
Creo que todas las 11 escuelas que están en la lista son parte de un vecindario. Y los invito a ustedes que se levanten de sus sillas y caminen sobre los vecindarios de las 11 escuelas que están en la lista.
And I believe that all the other schools that were part of the 11 schools that were not chosen to be back, they are also part of a community. And I invite you to get out of your chairs and come and walk and join us in the community.
Ustedes tienen que ser parte del vecindario de todas esas escuelas, sentir lo que los padres sienten.
You have to be part of the community, feel what the parents feel inside the community.
Porque ustedes no van a subir a sus hijos a un bus. En lo personal, hace 2 semanas miré cómo frenó un bus porque el bus quería pasarse la luz. ¿Esa es la seguridad que ustedes quieren para nuestros hijos?
I welcome you. I don't think you guys are going to be the ones putting your children in the school bus every morning. I saw a bus stop very badly and because he was trying to run a light over. He was trying to get there on time, and I don't think that is safety. Is that the safety that you want to put our kids in?
Por favor, tomen en cuenta todo lo que la comunidad está haciendo para permanecer las escuelas cerradas. Por favor, hagan algo positivo.
Please take into consideration all the hard work that every school has done, all of the 11 schools, so they could keep their schools open, and please do something positive.
Y por último, les quiero pedir, por favor, que tomen el lugar de los papás que están atrás, enfrente de ustedes, que tienen que sentir lo que están sintiendo en este momento cuando se están enterando del cierre de las escuelas de sus hijos. Ayúdennos a abrir más escuelas, no a cerrarlas. Ayúdennos a cerrar cárceles, a cerrar el número de criminales que están en ellas.
And lastly, I would want you to come and feel what the parents that are feeling in front of you. that they're feeling because they're going to close their children's school down. I want to invite you so that you could join us, and instead of closing the schools, closing the jails, decreasing the number of people that are in jails and all the criminals that are out there.
Los niños de todas las escuelas que están en la lista no son números, son niños que queremos que salgan adelante y que su educación sea primero. Por favor, pónganlos primero.
The numbers that are on the list, they're not just numbers, they're also students and they are children. So please put the children first.
Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
If our next 5 speakers can please line up. Daniel Lavanos.
Sí, deja que alguien más lo interprete. Yes, I do want someone else.
Estrella Lavanos, Adriana Sevilla,
Hola.
Camila Castro, and Jose Castro.
Yo puedo hablarles en el idioma de ellos, pero me da vergüenza lo que les voy a decir. Díganles.
She's saying that she's able to speak to you in your own language, but she's embarrassed for the things that she has to say.
¿Sí los ven cómo están ahí de aburridos todos?
You see how every single one of them is all bored there?
Miren la cara que tienen.
Look at their faces.
Aburridos.
They are bored.
Y cuando están buscando el voto,
And when they are
¿cómo
looking for our
están?
votes, how do they look?
Yo no sé, a lo mejor uno de ellos es,
I don't know,
alguno,
maybe one of them
es alguno de los millonarios que
is
el
one of the
mayor
millionaires.
anda buscando
Maybe one of the ones that the mayor is looking for
para sacar su team adelante.
to keep the Kings moving forward.
Por eso quieren reservar el dinero.
And that's why they are saving the money.
Otra cosa.
Another
También
thing.
pienso otra cosa. Algunos de ellos
Some
ya
of them,
quieren salvar el dinero para jubilarse.
they want to save the money for their own retirement.
Yo no conozco el nombre, ni sé quién son, ni me importa saber.
I don't
Pero no,
even know who they are, and I don't care.
lo único que me importa aquí son mis hijos.
The only thing that I care about here is my children.
Ellos están pensando en los cuantos ceros que van o números que van a aparecer en sus cheques, pero están dejando a un lado nuestros hijos.
The only thing that they are thinking about is the number of zeros that are going to appear on their checks, but they are leaving our children behind.
Y los niños son nuestro futuro.
And
Y
the
son-
children are our future.
y tienen que ser primero ellos, antes que todos estos que están aquí
And they have
sentados.
to be put first before every single one of them that are sitting in front of us.
Yo voté por él, pero yo ya me arrepentí. No lo vuelvo a hacer.
I voted for him, but now I regret it, and I would never do it again.
No merece ninguno de ellos. Ninguno de ellos merece allí estar sentado atrás de esa silla. En eso tenemos que abrir los ojos a la siguiente elección.
None of them deserves to be seated where they are right now, and we have to keep our eyes open for the next election
Porque están pensando en todos los ceros que van a aparecer en su cheque
because they are thinking of the number of zeros that are going to appear on their checks.
cuando detengan esos 15 millones.
When they save those $15 million.
Pero, pues yo los compadezco de todos modos, porque sí, a lo mejor que sí han trabajado duro, pero nomás fregando a la gente pobre, y sí merecen, ya retírense, ya. Sinceramente, ustedes ya terminaron con su trabajo. Hasta allí llegaron, así que sigan castigando a nuestros niños. No estoy aquí nomás por la Maple School, estoy por todas en general.
But I do feel sorry for them. Maybe they do have worked hard, but that's only to screw our children over. And I'm not here just speaking for Maple. I'm speaking for every single school that is closing.
Gracias y que disfruten los ceros en sus cheques, porque eso es lo que quieren. Interesados, el voto no lo van a volver a tener. Gracias.
Thank you, and I hope that you guys enjoy your zeros because the only thing that you guys want is the vote, and you are no longer going to get it. Thank you.
Our next five comments are from Veronica Perez, Paulina Ariza, Armando Martinez, Christian Martinez, and Cristina Herrera.
You got the stool?
Hi, my name is Christian Martinez. Please don't close down my school because there's no fighting there and there's no bullying there. Since there was some people came to show us how bullying is. So that's and then that changed. So please don't close our school. It's a great school.
What's your school,
Yeah.
Christian?
Christian, it's Maple School.
Thank you. Okay.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Cristina Herrera.
Ma'am, do you want an interpreter or are you okay? It's
Que
okay.
si quieres un intérprete, que estás bien.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay, good evening. My name is Cristina Herrera.
Vengo de Maple, de la escuela Maple.
I come from Maple School.
Mi hijo es Cristian Martínez, él va en 4º grado.
My son, he just spoke, his name is Christian Martinez, and he is in 4th grade.
Yo les pido encarecidamente, por favor, piensen en su decisión, piensen en los niños, piensen en la calidad de educación que les van a brindar a nuestros hijos.
I ask you to think about the children, think about the quality of education that you're going to give them, and think about the decision that you're going to make.
Como les han comentado, somos muchos padres preocupados por el futuro de nuestros hijos. No es solamente el cambio de escuela, es a dónde van a ir nuestros hijos.
Like they have already said before, there's a lot of parents here in front of you, and it's not just because of the changing of the school, it is where our kids are going to school at.
Pensemos también en nuestros maestros, en nuestros trabajadores que laboran en las escuelas.
Let's think about our teachers and also our staff members that collaborate in the schools.
En que ellos también tienen familia y que ellos también necesitan el trabajo.
That they also have a family and they also need the job.
Por favor, nuevamente les pido, piensen en nuestros hijos, que es lo primero. Creo que para ustedes, bueno, primeramente para nosotros, pero para ustedes también tienen que ser ellos primero.
I ask you to think about the children, put the children first. For us, first comes the children, but it should also come for you guys, children first.
De antemano, muchas gracias por sus...
And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our next 5 speakers are Michelle Alcala, Alma Alcala, Josh Alcala, Alma Mendez, and Jose Mendez.
My name is Josh. Do you want mom to go first? Okay. Wait, 1 second. Go, Michelle.
Yeah, that woke everybody up. It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Michelle Gala. I am a 4th grader and a K-Kids president at Maple Elementary. Board members, I understand that you want the best for my education, and I know that you might think that you can just close some schools and save money. But no, all you are doing is crushing kids' dreams. Dear board members, all I want is an opportunity to educate myself so one day I can be someone like you. Please think about me, the children, when you vote. If the problem is money, we do fundraisers at my school. In my school. How come you guys don't do one? Do the math before you spend the money. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Alma Alcala, and I got 3 kids, 2 kids in Maple, 1 4th grader, and 1 preschooler. I'm a school site council too, and I'm a part of Put Students First Coalition. And I'm a PC for my children's, for my kid preschool, PC member. I'm gonna speak in Spanish because I feel more comfortable speaking Spanish. I'm gonna talk about my school, Maple. Maple School is not just a school, it's a community. Wait.
Hey, you're doing well.
A community center and a park. In our neighborhood, we don't have parks. We use the school like a park for meetings. Saturdays we play soccer, or the kids play soccer, and the moms, we change things about the kids. We got exercise classes for moms. Most of the families, we don't have cars, so we got only 1 car, which husbands use it to go to work, and most of the families walk from home to the school. And the thing is, we got the church very close to our school, the church, the market. How it's going to affect me if they close our schools is because in our schools, we got workshops, community resources. In 2011, we had classes about bullying prevention. They train parents for emergencies and nutrition classes too. Señor Raymond, su propuesta suena muy interesante. Como ama de casa, lo compararía a cuando mi esposo me da dinero para la comida y no lo administro bien y dejaría sin comer a mis hijos.
Oh, thank you. Your proposal sounds very interesting. Like a mother, it sounds like when my husband gives me money, and I don't know how to administrate it very well.
Para mí, con todo el respeto, su propuesta es injusta, apresurada y sin sentido.
With all due respect, your proposal is unjust, it's rushed, and it has no meaning, no sense.
Board members, comprendo lo difícil que ha de ser para ustedes tomar una decisión, y ya que su compromiso como representantes de la educación es poner a los estudiantes primero.
Board members, I understand how hard it is for you to make a decision, and I also understand that you want to put children first.
Por eso les pido que a la hora de votar, voten no y piensen en ellos primero. Gracias.
That's why I ask you to vote no and think of the children first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to say something? No? Yes or no?
Our next 5 comments are from Servando Mendez, Fernando Serena, Angelica Rangel, Maria Alvarez, and Alexis Levandos. Our next 5 comments: Daniel Levanos Jr., Leila Herrera, Heidi Herrera, Lorena Herrera, and Valerie Herrera. Next 5, Betty Herrera, Maria Sevilla, Ana Rosa Ramirez, Nancy Gilbert, Judy Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Gilbert. I'm a volunteer at Joseph Bonheim Elementary School. I'm here this evening because I'm not sure you all got to hear what was said at the Tuesday night meeting at Joseph Bonheim. Our meeting was scheduled on the same night as another school's meeting. It was a time saver for the district, but a very disappointing and disrespectful process for the Bonheim community. Did you get an opportunity to review the video and the notes that were taken, or was it just an exercise in futility for the 200 people that came together that evening? I urge you to vote no on the closure of Joseph Bonheim. The district has only looked at the numbers and not the facilities. Bonheim students will be sent to Earl Warren, and as of last week, the students will also have the option of being bused to Peter Burnett. Busing is expensive. Most Bonheim students walk to school. Some of the students will now have to walk 1.5 or 1.6 miles one way to get to Earl Warren. The district says it will hire crossing guards to keep the students safe. How does that save money? Joseph Bonheim would be a more suitable location for the 900-plus students. Bonheim has a larger campus, more open space, a large functioning library, an updated kitchen, ample parking, and 3 streets available for student drop-off. Earl Warren does not. According to the district plumbers, Earl Warren can't run its domestic and irrigation systems at the same time. Bonheim can. The students at Earl Warren should be coming to Joseph Bonheim. It would be a better fit and save the district money. Our parents and children deserve more consideration and respect from the school district than they have received with this poorly planned and rushed proposal. As board members, you have the opportunity to tell the district no. Put the children and our community first. Do not close Joseph Bonheim or any of the other schools. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
If our next 5 speakers can please line up. Jessica Arriaga, Kevin Carter, Ariela Lopez Ellis, Ninchonka Lopez, Nachka, thank you, Nachka Lopez, Lisa Romero.
Ma'am, if you could hold on a moment. There was a woman's ring found in the bathroom. It has a star on it. If someone accidentally left it in the woman's bathroom, it'll be over here with Gail. Woman in the pink dress. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Superintendent Raymond and board members. I've expressed concerns at the last 2 board meetings and at the community meeting. I'm from Joseph Bonheim. But today I want to express a big concern, the biggest concern. This newly revised proposal is still too much, too soon. In just 1 month, that's all you've given the community members to even consider this. You've gone from a proposal that had a capacity that for each school that was really kind of way out of line. But then you reduced it. Oh, well, we won't include the library, and special ed can't have 30 in a class, so we'll reduce that. Then you had to come up at the first community meeting, Tahoe and Mark Twain. Now we have to readdress that issue. At the Tuesday night meeting, which was Joseph Bonheim's, 2 days before this meeting, all of a sudden we're hearing now they're going to 2 different schools. There was only one. The other school was too small to accommodate the influx of the number of new students. Now they're going to be bused to an even farther away school. And then tonight we hear 3 are designated to be removed from this closure list for various reasons. We have taught our students at the schools about risks and consequences. This is too big a risk, too soon, and at what consequences? Please vote no for this faulty proposal and ask for it to be readdressed and look at details to find the additional $2.5 million without negative consequences for our students and the families. A no vote is the only one that makes sense tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jessica Arriaga, and I am a single working mother of 3, one of which is a 5th grader and a 1st grader attending Joseph Bonheim. I understand that your position is we are simply transitioning students from one school to another. It's not that big of a deal. It'll save a lot of money, simply put. You are sure that it will be safe and it will be in the best interest and it will have minimal impact on our children and the neighborhood. Well, let's think about that. You'll be providing maps for the safest ways for children to get to and from school. My children walk to and from school. Will your maps include neighborhood friends and church members or family members or retired neighbors for when my children are walking home and they're unsafe and something comes up? And because my map does. My map has those houses and has those places where my children will run to feel safe. I have the unfortunate opportunity to have switched schools already. And my youngest took about 6 months to finally readjust and get situated with all of the new teachers and new administration. And he just stopped asking me why he can't go back to his old school. But once again, you have to understand he has special needs. He's a special needs child and has a difficult time adjusting to change. But you guys feel that it's not going to have a very big impact on our family and on our children. I beg to differ. If someone had asked you to conduct an experiment on children ages 5 through 11, you would be appalled. But that is exactly what you are voting to do today. To close 11 schools is one big social experiment to see if they will succeed. And I hope that you are prepared to make history as one of the worst policymakers that I have seen. And I would expect if you proceed with the school closures that it would be unanimous. Because anything other than a unanimous vote would mean that there are board members sitting in front of me today that feel that there's another option. And I would hope that you've explored all options before you decide to close down this many schools. And now I'll speak a language that you will understand. I have a voice and I have time and I have energy. I don't make a lot of money, but I can either be that voice, that time, or that energy supporting you in making other decisions and other options to provide an opportunity for all of these schools to be open. Or I can use my time, I can use my energy, and I can use my voice to ensure that anyone who chooses to support the closing of these 11 schools are not reelected and do not sit before me again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Raymond and school board members. My name is Ariella Lopez Ellis, and I'm going to be representing Joseph Bonheim. Joseph Bonheim has been a very great school, and I've been to so many schools, and Joseph Bonheim is the one school that I stayed the longest. And why are you closing down my school? If you transfer us to Earl Warren doesn't like us. And so you're going to put us in an environment where we're going to get bullied and teased. And this is like the first year I'm going to be in student council. And you're going to take that away from me? I've been in choir for 3 years by the greatest choir teacher. And this is not going to affect you. It's going to affect the parents, the students, and the teachers and the staff members. Joseph Bonheim students work hard to get what they want. We love to learn. Some of us, my cousins, they go to that school. We learn from our mistakes at that school. And Joseph Bonheim has been the greatest school I ever been to. And you're going to close it? I suggest you vote no. Don't close Joseph Bonheim. Because that school has many activities and opportunities for students to learn and have fun at the same time. We take pride in our work. I am a Joseph Bonheim B. So can you please keep your hands off my school? Thank you.
That's my baby. Hi, my name is Nanashka Lopez. That's my baby. I am proud of her. Ever since she's been to Joseph Bonheim, she comes home with the state test every single year, multiple. And on top of that, like she said, she has been in the choir. She's been in so many activities at Joseph Bonheim. I'm in the PTA of Joseph Bonheim. I do everything I can for this school. I am permanently disabled with metal going through my body, but I'm here tonight. My daughter was supposed to go to bed at 8:30, but I'm here right now. begging and pleading with you guys not to close our school. I mean, we voted for Prop 30, and Jerry Brown announced that he was going to do something for the fundings for the schools, but why can't you let that kick in yet? Our schools haven't even got an opportunity for us to pay the higher taxes that we voted for. And this is supposed to be the land of the free and a home opportunity. Everybody's supposed to come here and have the great love and welcomeness that the United States is supposed to give us, but we're not getting it from our own children. We were born here and we're getting kicked out. It's not right or fair. And that school is really a community. When I went and passed out flyers for meetings, for this meeting, the meeting at the school, there were so many people that said their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren are going there. There have been people at the meeting on Tuesday, if you guys would have came, and they did even say they went there. Their children are going there. How can you do that to a school that's more than a school? It's a community. It's a part of everybody. We all welcome each other. We love all our children. We watch all our children. We want them to succeed. But when you switch them from school to school to school, they cannot succeed. Because as parents, if we moved them from house to school, we'd get in trouble. The law will come in, step in and say, you're not stable enough. But it's okay for the school district to rip our children out of the school that they've been used to going since kindergarten. It don't matter if they started today. It is their school. And it is not right or fair. Why don't you guys think about Curtis Park? That's a better area, I guess. Is that why you guys said it's okay? Joseph Bonheim.
Thank you.
If our next 5 speakers can please line up. Ana Figueroa, Aracy Moreno, thank you. Carmen Gonzalez, Zitali Brambila, and Tiffany Vaillancourt.
Good evening, board members. Again, my name is Kevin Carter. I'm a spiritual and social justice activist. I'm here tonight on behalf of 2 kids of Joseph Bonheim. It's hard for me to pronounce these names because there's 11 schools being closed down, and it's hard to keep up with the names of them. And if it's that many schools that are going to be closed down, that means that they shouldn't be closed. But what I want to say is that what I spoke on tonight in this history that we come from in this democracy, in which we're supposed to represent as a people, we take a solid oath to ensure the families that are out here tonight. And if I could just ask a question, if everybody can raise their hands that voted on Proposition 30, you can raise your hands. So what I'm trying to say to this point is here it is, these parents, they keep cashing a check to this school district for their kids to get the better treatment. And the things that don't arouse to biasness. But every time that they continue to do this, and it's not your fault, the check keeps coming back non-void and insufficient funds. And this is not just. It's not just for them, and it's not just for you as a board. See, what these people need tonight, they need a champion. They need champions to stand up for their district. That's supposed to be called blight. But when I walk through it, it's bright because of all of these families out here that continue to yearn for their solidarities, for the yearnings of what's supposed to be in education. I ask for you tonight to stand up with them. No kids left behind is your kids left behind. When we talk about a race to the top, these kids aren't in the starting blocks. And this is not just. It's not just. And one more thing that I would like to say. Before you make any decisions, which you've already made because you closed the libraries up, you've took all of the nurses out of the school, so your decision has already been made. So what you're doing is just stroking these people's egos out here in their characters. And that's not just. But what we can make, how we can make this just, immigration reform is right now. And I've called mostly each and every one of you to come to immigration reform before you make any decisions. Because we're in the fierce urgency of now. We have love on the front line. And love on the front line is a dangerous way to live because in the end, no one wins. When these kids get up to go to school.
Can you wrap it up, Mr. Carter?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, sir.
But it's important because it's for the safety of these kids.
Agreed.
All these transitions that you're making, it's going to cost them. And it's costing them now. All of these other districts and all of these other places where their kids are in a comfortable place. These parents aren't. You're getting ready to take them back through the strains of what's happening now. And they don't deserve it. What they do deserve is a champion. For you guys to step up and be that champion and cancel this vote and wait. Don't put the cart before the horse. Thank you. God bless you.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Ana Figueroa y vengo de Joseph Bonheim.
Good evening. My name is Ana Figueroa, and I'm coming from Joseph Bonheim.
Les quiero pedir que quiten a Joseph Bonheim de la lista de escuelas que van a cerrar.
I want to ask you to take Joseph Bonheim away from the list of the schools that you are planning on closing.
Por lo que puedo escuchar, ustedes están considerando más lugares que van a tener viviendas nuevas.
From what I'm hearing, you are considering places that are planning on having new residential areas.
Y no piensan en la gente que ha vivido por años en las escuelas que quieren cerrar, en esos vecindarios.
And you don't think about the people that have lived forever in these neighborhoods of the schools that you're planning on closing.
Por favor, sean justos, busquen otras soluciones y no cierren nuestras escuelas.
Please be fair, be just, and look for other solutions and don't close our schools.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Erice Moreno, and I'm a mother of two that go to Joseph Bonheim, and it's pronounced Bonheim. And I really don't know what to say. I just wanted to make my face be seen and know that, I am taking the Leadership Academy, so I will be present at every board meeting, and I will make sure that things are done right, because we do have a voice. And I'm brand new to this, and I'm coming to find out that we do have a voice, and we have rights. And I didn't hear nobody comment on the part about Sacramento being named one of the most dangerous areas due to gangs and violence and drugs and all of this, but you guys are willing to put our children on the front line to walk to these schools in that area, down those streets, and closing these schools down. Some of these kids, including myself, a single mom of 4, still young, grow up to a product of gangs and drugs and all these other things, but nobody seems to notice that. Some of these children have grew up in that path, and their family are from those things, but don't nobody notice that. And I don't want to go all ghetto on you guys, regardless of 916 and regardless of the area code, the color, the skin, the language, it doesn't matter. These are our babies. These are my babies. Our babies we're talking about, and I will make sure they walk, but I don't appreciate it that if my kids don't get to school on time or on that day, that they're going to be coming knocking on my door, because they're not there on time. Or they're not there because I don't have a car and I can't afford it, So I just wanted to say thank you guys. I know it's tough. It's a tough decision for you guys, but at the same time, we are people too. Our children are not a number, and just don't leave no kids behind. Not our kids, not nobody's kids. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mi nombre es Carmen Cerratos. Yo tengo 3 niñas en Joseph Bonheim.
My name is
Carmen González, perdón.
González. My name is Carmen González, and I have 3 daughters of Joseph Bonheim.
Una de quinto, otra de cuarto y otra en el kinder.
One in 5th grade, one in 4th grade, and one in kinder.
Es una de las escuelas que ustedes están considerando cerrar.
This is one of the schools that you're planning on closing.
Yo solo quiero decirles unas cuantas palabras.
I just want to tell you a few things.
La verdad, no sé si ustedes están tomando en cuenta todos los comentarios.
In reality, I do not know if you're taking in consideration our comments,
Los puntos de vista
our viewpoints, or points of view,
y su sentir de todos los que se han expresado hacia ustedes.
and the feelings of those of us who have expressed our concern to you.
Pero espero
But I hope
tomen la mejor decisión,
that you take the best decision,
no pensando en lo económico,
not just thinking on the economic side,
sino en nuestros hijos
but in our children
que son los más afectados en todo esto.
because they are the most affected by this situation.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jonathan Raymond.
Good evening, Jonathan
Raymond.
Raymond
And board members.
and board members.
My name is Claire,
My name is Zelali Brambilla,
and I don't want
and I don't want my school to be closed.
I want Joseph Bonham
I want Joseph Bonham
to stay open.
to stay open.
If you close our schools,
If you close the schools,
the children
the children
won't have the
What?
same education. Won't
won't have
the
the same
education
education
as we have now.
as we have now.
Please don't close our schools.
Please don't close the schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speakers are Matt Muller, Doug Holland, Nathan Taylor, Seng Va, Felipe Romo, and Evelyn Romo.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Valancourt. I'm from James Marshall. You'll have to excuse me. I do not like public speaking. But I have to ask you, is this the only solution to close these schools? Have you looked at other avenues? You've asked the schools years after years to make cuts, but have you made any cuts at the district level? I can't understand. There are so many questions that you guys have yet to answer. You guys have not answered. You guys come up with, we're trying to make things simpler. We're trying to make it easy for people to understand. But there are still so many questions that you guys have not even dared to try to answer. You really need to go back and look at this. Is this the only plan? And is this a good plan for everybody? Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, my name is Matt Muller. While I appreciate that James Marshall is being removed from consideration, and I look forward to the board coming up with ways of increasing James Marshall's enrollment so that it doesn't appear on future closure lists, I feel the need to speak up for the rest of the schools. At the last board meeting, Superintendent, you gave us a recap of all the questions, the countless questions that we have raised, but the one thing you didn't give us was a single concrete answer to any of those questions. I want to read an excerpt from the California Department of Education's Closing of Schools Best Practice Guide. Even though the DAC's responsibilities are specific to decisions after a school has been closed, those decisions should be made in concert with decisions about which schools, if any, to close. To restrict the DAC to post facto responsibilities is to neglect an integral component in the difficult decisions of school closure. In other words, according to the CDE, the district is being neglectful. In fact, it has completely ignored the legislative intent and recommendations of the CDE, with the exception of what you have interpreted to be your absolute minimum legal obligation. Mr. Kennedy was recently noted as saying that he didn't see how following the process fully would have helped anything. I would like to remind Mr. Kennedy that the rights of your communities and your constituents are not subject to your discretion. I would also like to remind Mr. Kennedy that it only takes 10% of your area to initiate a recall. What you have going on here, board, is a runaway train, and everybody's desperately trying to hand you the brake lever. I suggest you take it and pull it before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nathan Taylor. I got a student that goes to James Marshall Elementary School. I had a nice list of things to say to you guys, but after seeing the amended list, a lot of that kind of had to go by the wayside. But I actually want to speak on behalf of the other schools in the district that are on a list. I think that there might be some other options to consider rather than just closing the schools. There's there are companies and corporations in the Sacramento area that are putting millions and millions of dollars to saving a sub 500 par basketball team. How about we turn around and we go to these same corporations and say, instead of putting money into a money pit as the kings might be, and invest in our education, invest in our future, invest in their future. They're not going to be the ones sitting where you guys are sitting. They're not going to have people sitting there forever. They're going to be the same age. They have to be replaced by somebody. And if you take away our education in our school systems, what are you going to replace them with? Who's going to replace you if there's nobody that's educated enough to replace you? Okay? I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of other people that have a lot better things to say to me, but, that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Felipe, and I'm from Fruit Ridge Elementary, and I think you shouldn't close it because it has a lot of programs like the Sacramento Overture. You get to study and play the cello, viola, and violin. And you get to take the instruments home.
What about your teachers?
And they're great, and our teachers are they're great teachers. And in other schools, I'm not sure if I'll remember their names, and I have great friends. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Felipe.
Evelyn's going to need the documents.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, my name is Evelyn.
It's not working. Have what? On. Oh, there we go.
This is a certificate I got in 3rd grade. I was in advanced in math. And this was in the 3rd benchmark. The 2nd I improved 25% since the 2nd benchmark. This is the of language arts. I got proficient. It's not as good as advanced, but it's still better than basic. It was still in 3rd grade. My teacher that gave me all the attention was Miss Grimes. This one I got in 1st grade for writing a letter to the President of the United States, Barack Obama. My teacher, she helped us even though we didn't really write a lot. Since I speak another language, I couldn't really write a lot of English. She taught us how to write English, and I could actually write the letter to her. Now, when I was in 4th grade, I successfully read all my sight words, and I got a certificate and in assembly at the school. I've talked 2 times here at this is going to be my 2nd time talking at the Serna Center and 1 in the meeting. Yesterday, I also came with signs saying, "Save our school. Please save it because of my effort." At the meeting at the school, I said I had 6 medals. Now I bring 3 because the other 3 are in frames.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn.
President Cunha, board members, I come before you with no certificates and no medals. Evelyn, you're a hard act to follow. I'm Doug Holland, president of the Rosemont Community Association, and with the announcement tonight of the change that was made by superintendent, I suppose I should have gotten up and gone home. But friends will tell you it's not unusual for me to poke the bear. I'd just like to, on behalf of the other schools, point out that when you go to the website for the school district, one of the first things that come up when you Google it, it says Sacramento Unified City School District, putting children first. And I'd like to see if the board could reconsider moving forward, given that the community has gone through a process already that participated in the closure discussion. That was put on the shelf, and then we came up with right sizing. When I see the faces and hear the voices of the children that have come before you tonight, to them, right sizing applies to Happy Meals and ice cream, not their schools. They don't understand that $2.5 million is 0.6% of your budget. You're fixing a budget problem with 0.6%. The governor's Prop 30 announcement yesterday says that this district will receive nearly $12.2 million anticipated this coming budget year. Next budget year, it will be over $30 million. I don't know about you, but I think giving 3,800 children the opportunity to continue their education in an environment that makes them grow and excel like Evelyn is worth waiting for. Finding a way to move the dollars, because I don't think putting children first means we worry about a budget line and not the investment this board makes in our communities. Thank you.
Our next 5 comments are from Deanna Slutz, Oliver Lumigid, Stephanie Miranda, Sandra Suarez, and Mandy Carrillo.
My name is Sang Vang, and I am a HIP organizer with the Putting Students First Coalition. I would like to hand over the rest of our petitions. Over 1,200 community stakeholders have signed onto a petition because they believe that the district's school closure process is flawed. Board of Education trustee and Superintendent Jonathan Raymond. I'm sure you are familiar with the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if parts of it is broken, please don't try to fix it with a sledgehammer. According to our coalition partner, Making Sense Work, almost all of the 11 schools proposed to close have not gone over their budget last year, nor the years prior. This means these schools are not the cause of the district's fiscal problems. So let's look at where the real problems are. If this is about under-enrollment, let's work on bettering our programs in schools to bring in more students. If this is about money, we know there are millions of dollars in the district. In fact, an alternative budget proposal will be presented at a community meeting on March 5th at the Colonial Heights Library. Please do not close any of our schools before performing a full environmental review of all schools, including the impact on the feeder schools. And ensure that this closure will improve the students' academic performance, or it would be for a lost cause. Through HIP's effort, parents have proved that they are engaged and will collaborate if given the opportunity to join in any making decision processes that will impact their families. It may take extra effort to include parents and community stakeholders because of language and cultural barriers, but that is why we have the Family and Community Engagement Department. I believe this department was created because Superintendent Raymond and trustees, you all do care about our communities, our parents, and students. Please give our parents a chance to be at the decision-making table with you all. Trustees, vote no tonight and create a community-inclusive school closure process. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next comments are from Christian Suarez, Gania Brown, Dr. Gleal Saba, and Brenda Ruiz.
Hi, my name is Anaya, and I wanted to ask the board members and Mr. Raymond, why do you guys want to close all the schools that are in the South? Because all of those schools, I believe they are good schools, and Fruit Ridge is a good school, and it has good programs that you should go to, and everything there is good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Raymond, board members. My name is Mandy Carrillo, and I come from Fruit Ridge Elementary School. I have always been a strong supporter of the American democratic structure. I was active in student government all through high school. I was honored my senior year to be chosen by my peers to represent them on this very board. I continued my activism while away at UC Santa Cruz by serving in the Student Senate. I believed in the power of politics so much that I spent my time in college studying it. I've considered running for this very office, and now consider my decision not to be one of my greatest regrets. Yesterday, I spent some time reflecting on the past few weeks and the countless hours of research I've conducted. I know that you, Jonathan Raymond, your staff, and a number of board members spent time last summer at the Center for Reinventing Education. This center promotes the belief that charter schools are the only way to educate the disenfranchised. Unfortunately, as it stands, the district cannot compete. When it comes down to it, the only difference that truly matters is the fact that charters can provide their students with a longer school day and more instruction. We in Sacramento could reinvent education by combining the best aspects of a traditional district education with the best aspects of a charter education. We could utilize the experience of our highly qualified teachers within the classrooms. Fruit Ridge has 150 or so years of combined time amongst 10 teachers in the classroom. We could pay these teachers a little bit more and extend the school day using the increased state funding that has been all but guaranteed by the Democratic governor and his Democratic legislature. We could save our schools that are, as Member Wu describes Fruit Ridge, a jewel of the district. By standing by traditional public education, the parents have proven to me that they are not only willing to step up to the plate, but they are willing to hit a grand slam. We deserve a chance to formulate a plan to save our premier site with its living laboratory garden, 100 years of history, and a remodeled site just 2 years ago to be exact. Board members, I know how many hours and thought goes into your positions. I sat in one of your seats. I would hope that in the long run that counts for something. My belief that Fruit Ridge could become a showcase, an example of neighborhood education across all of California deserves what I have proposed. Postpone your decision and let every neighborhood school come up with a plan for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Raymond and board members. My name is Dr. Gleal Saba, and I'm a volunteer at the Fruit Ridge Elementary, also at Language Academy of Sacramento. We realize that you're trying to solve a budget problem. However, the method you're proposing to balance the budget on the backs of the low-income communities is unethical, undemocratic, and discriminatory. The CDE recommended a specific procedure for school closure, which calls for forming an advisory committee with community stakeholders and a longer process. This is just too short. Board members, You were elected to represent the community and its needs. We realize that some changes need to be made, but this does not mean that 10 to 11 schools or 20% of the district schools be cut out with one vote without going through the recommended process that each individual school deserves. Superintendent Raymond mentioned the 11 community meetings. Yes, you held them. Yes, you wrote down our questions. We've received no specific reply to our questions. I checked your frequently asked questions on the website. No specific answers. I feel like you just checked off what you thought would kind of show that, yes, we've dealt with the community. I really don't feel like you've listened to and have heard us. Board members, I ask you to listen to the community and vote no tonight. And I ask you to work with the community and teachers union to think of other ways. And finally, imagine this. Even if we were to cut all of the recommended schools, and by next year probably we'd be running another deficit, what would keep you from cutting yet another 20% of our schools? I suggest you look somewhere else in resolving your budget deficits. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Our next 5 comments are from Brian Kojima, Lydia Cruz, David Fisher, Matthew Fenner, and Chao Cheng.
Good evening, Superintendent Raymond and board members. My name is Brenda Ruiz. I'm here to speak on behalf of Slow Food Sacramento, and I have to say, as a community partner and nonprofit organization, I'm quite surprised that you've chosen to consider closing Fruit Ridge. There are a significant amount of not only financial resources in the school, but its 100-year history and volunteer hours and expertise is quite significant. And they may not be here this evening, but there are multiple community organizations in the city that are watching the actions of the board tonight. We have our skin in the game, and we hope that you recognize that the community is willing to step up and help the schools survive this. It's also disappointing to understand that closing these schools will not solve your fiscal crisis. So affecting the lives of 3,800 students in this manner that will ultimately not solve that problem is probably not the way to go. Secondly, I also stand here as the vice president of the Latino Democratic Club. And it's not lost on me that in this room we have a future senator or congressman. And I congratulate the community for standing up and coming before you this evening. Please consider the significant resources that community organizations have made in these schools, and we continue and want to be part of the discussion and want to partner with you in keeping these campuses open. We are not just business owners and not just nonprofits out in the ether with a web page. We are neighbors and parents, and we're significantly invested on multiple levels in keeping these schools open. Please engage with us and keep these campuses open, and let's spend some more time. We've got it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Lydia Cruz from Clayton B. Wire. Gustavo, I'm so glad to see you come in the door. You know what's funny is the 3 schools that you removed, 2 of them are in better neighborhoods. That's just a little. Yeah, okay, that's a little. I didn't want to believe it, but oh my God. The other thing is that I didn't hear so much about safety, about the safety of our babies. Our babies are going to have to cross that neighborhood. Mr. Wu, you told us how you speak for and against the human trafficking, the human sex trafficking that's going on. But yet a yes vote is going to send our babies through a neighborhood that, depending on which Google, I don't know which map you look at, has anything from 65 to 167 offenders. And that's probably true of the other neighborhoods too. I don't understand that. And then you don't even take into consideration, I remember years ago when Johnson had trouble and they had to go to another school, you sent them to Burbank without even considering that those were 2 rival gangs. So you're sending, when the kids are saying that neighborhood doesn't like us, listen please. Because maybe that neighbor doesn't like us because there's rival gangs going on. You're not even considering that. You know, our motto at CB Wire is hand in hand, together we can, Mr. Raymond. Hand in hand, together we can. This community has shown you that hand in hand we can. And hand in hand, we could probably raise some money. You've already heard people say that. We are not even sure because we've been doing our research. We did our homework, Mr. Wu. You told us to do our homework. You guys didn't even come hand in hand together. We can. I don't think you'll be willing to hold our hand because you didn't even come to our community meeting. You didn't make it to ours. Yeah. How about that? So then I do believe that nobody goes into education without really, really, really loving children. I do believe that, Mr. Raymond. I do believe that. I believe that, Mr. Wu. I believe that, Mr. Kennedy. I believe that, Mr. Cunha. I believe that, Mr. Hanson, that you really do love our children. But show it by saying no. Show it by saying no. How many of you will hold our hands? Hand in hand together and can. Which one of you guys are going to take the hands of our babies and hold it together?
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I get the document camera, please? Hi, I'm David Fisher, teach at CB Wire. My daughter goes to CB Wire. And I'm putting a couple graphs here to start, just to kind of get a picture in your head. I delivered this to your board secretaries. I hope you already got it. First one just shows all the schools on the closure list. This big, long line is CB Wire. We have 454 students, and you've taken off 3 of the other schools with lower enrollment. This one shows all the other schools with lower enrollment that aren't even on the list. Okay, so my question is this really a fiscal decision? If you take a look at that, all those schools have fewer students than ours. Okay? First of all, you had a list, you took the party schools off. Then you have Mark Twain and that issue with Tahoe. Then you go to the Bret Hart community meeting, and now they're off the list. Okay? I think that the only criterion, I've spoken to board members, and they've come and spoken to us, that would ever make sense is if you're increasing services to students. If you had very small schools and combine them, you might increase the services. By closing all these schools with higher enrollment, I don't think this capacity argument makes any sense at all. I don't think anyone believes in this criteria. I don't even think you guys really believe in this criteria. If you believed in it, you would have stuck with it, okay? We delivered a letter and tried to ask questions over and over, but I've been asking the board members and different people and everyone I know, how does capacity cost money? I've been told that's a good question. How is when you have a portable at one school, and does that cost more money if you move that portable across the street? That has nothing to do with the cost of a school district. So I think that this is erroneous. You know, I understand that this decision to possibly close schools is difficult and painful. I'm asking that you reconsider that and use, if you do this, use a vetted, customary, standard criteria that would bring credibility to this process. I think what happens, I'm going to submit my last thing, is that this is what happens when you develop criteria in secret. You don't end up with credibility, okay? And so the only way out of this that I can see is that you stop the process now. In the meantime, give some space for maybe some other solutions, and then convene a stakeholder meeting to help develop a transparent criteria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
If our next 5 speakers can please line up: Ben Ritchie, Jamila Kirk, Steve Kreutz, Elizabeth Esparza, and Grace Trujillo.
My name is Chao Cheng. I have kids attending CB Wire. I'm very confused that you are about to close CB Wire, and I don't think it's a good idea. I think that your decision is wrong. If you do that, then people here in the United States mainly will be suffering more.
Pemo pito lu te chau te lo chu tani chape lo yo chu ko lo mu lu siku.
Even though here in the United States we're going through a lot, I realize that other countries are in more poverty than us, but they at least keep their school open.
Ku chi chi nyo lo hai cho lu nya ro cho no cho chu da shi yo ku lo ku chu to hai.
I understand that I have, it's not in my position to lecture you guys, but I have a voice that I need to voice out to you guys.
Ko lo rong sai rong ya te chi nyo lo wo lo ma wo te ya chi nyo lo wo lo to wo pe chi sa to ni ti lo.
That you look carefully at the decisions you make to be just and right, because we don't want to be in hardships anymore.
Ku cho lu chu mo li no.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ben Ritchie, and I come as a future Bret Hart School parent. I urge you to vote no on the school closures. My fiance and I bought our house in April near Bret Hart Elementary School because we both went to public schools, and we want our kids to be able to go to a neighborhood school. We want to raise our children in this community. We want to send our kids to these schools. Of course, I'm glad that Bret Hart has been removed from this list, but that doesn't change the fact that I oppose this plan. In just 5 weeks of review, a third of the schools on this original list have been removed because of new information, important factors that have come up that weren't considered in the initial process. So there's a reason that the state recommends a process that has community involvement, that takes the time to consider the important factors that go into school closures, if we're going to consider that. This process, we've rushed. We've put the cart before the horse here. We're doing a 7-11 committee after making the decision, rather than doing it beforehand to get community input. It just doesn't make any sense. This rush process has proven that it's flawed by the changes that have been made in it over the course of these past 5 weeks. So I want to encourage you. This is an important decision. It has an impact on people's lives. This has an impact on my kids. They aren't even born yet, and it's going to have an impact on their lives if we choose to close these schools. So I want to really encourage you to vote no on these closures, stand with all these parents, present and future, give them the opportunity to let their children attend these schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie.